The sound of the key turning in the lock echoes through the empty hallway. I stand there, staring at the brass doorknob, watching it refuse to budge despite my desperate twisting. Through the frosted glass panel, I can make out Clara's silhouette, her perfectly styled hair unmistakable even through the distorted view. "Mother Clara, please. It's freezing out here." My voice cracks, betraying more emotion than I want her to hear. She moves closer to the door. "Oh, Naomi dear, did you forget your key again? How terribly forgetful you've become since Rachel passed." The mention of my mother's name hits like a slap. My hands clench into fists, nails digging into my palms. "You know I didn't forget my key. You changed the locks." "Did I?" Her voice drips with false concern. "Brandon mentioned wanting better security." "I was only trying to help." "Of course. Brandon." "My husband who's away on another business trip, leaving me alone with his mother. The same woman who welcomed me with open arms at my mother's funeral 3 months ago, offering to share her home while we saved for our own place." "At least let me get my coat," I plead, hugging myself against the cold. The thin sweater I'm wearing does nothing against the bitter evening air. "I think some time alone might help you appreciate our household rules better." The shadow behind the glass moves away. "Remember, dear, 7 o'clock means 7 o'clock. Not 7:15. I hear her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, growing fainter. My phone's in my purse inside the house. My wallet too. Everything except my car keys, which are useless since Clara had my car serviced last week. It hasn't started since. A light flicks on in the neighbor's house. Liam's probably watching this whole scene unfold. He's witnessed enough of these incidents over the past months, offering sympathetic glances but keeping his distance. Smart man. I sink down onto the front step, wrapping my arms around my knees. Mom would know what to do. She always had a way of handling difficult people with grace. But Mom's gone, and I'm here, locked out of my own home by a woman who wears kindness like a mask. The garden gnome by the steps seems to mock me with its frozen smile. Clara's prized roses line the pathway, their thorns gleaming in the fading light. I reach out and snap one off at the stem, watching a drop of blood well up where it pricked my finger. One day, Clara will learn that roses aren't the only things with thorns. Brandon's voice crackles through my phone speaker, distorted by poor reception or maybe just distance. "I'll be home next weekend, I promise. Just 2 more clients to see." I trace the rim of my coffee cup, watching Clara arrange flowers at her work table across the kitchen. She hums softly, precise hands weaving stems into her latest masterpiece. "That's what you said last weekend. Naomi, please. You know how important this deal is for us. For our future." Clara's humming stops. Her scissors snap through a stem with unnecessary force. "Our future," I repeat, the words tasting bitter. "Right. Mother's taking good care of you, isn't she?" Clara looks up, those practiced warm eyes meeting mine. She smiles, wielding kindness like a weapon. "She's been attentive." I turn away, lowering my voice. "Brandon, about last night dash." "Oh, sweetheart," Clara interrupts, loud enough for Brandon to hear. "Should I make your favorite pasta for dinner? You barely touched your breakfast." Mother says you're not eating well. Brandon's concern bleeds through the static. "Are you feeling okay?" Of course she told him that. Just like she told him about my forgetfulness with the house key, my careless handling of her antique vase. My emotional instability since Mom died. "I'm fine." The lie comes easily now. "Just tired." "Get some rest then. Mother will look after you. Love you." The call ends before I can respond. Clara's scissors continue their rhythmic snipping, each cut like a countdown to something inevitable. "He works so hard," she says, selecting a blood-red rose. "Sometimes I worry he pushes himself too much." "For you." My coffee has gone cold. "What do you mean?" "Well, dear, these business trips. They started after your mother's funeral expenses, didn't they? Brandon felt responsible, being the man of your family now." The truth hits like a punch to the gut. Mom's funeral was modest, I'd insisted on it. But Clara had stepped in, upgrading everything from the casket to the catering. "It's what Rachel deserves," she'd said, her hand on Brandon's shoulder. "I never asked him to dash." "Of course not, dear. But that's what family does." She places the finished arrangement on the counter between us. "We sacrifice for each other." The roses loom over my coffee cup, their perfect petals arranged in a suffocating symmetry. Behind them, Clara watches me with that same manufactured smile, waiting for my reaction. I stand abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "I need some air." "Don't forget your key this time," she calls after me, her voice honey-sweet with poison. I'm halfway to the door when I hear the scissors resume their cutting, methodically trimming away at whatever stands in their way. The letter falls from between the pages of Clara's flower arrangement journal, crisp and white against the hardwood floor. I shouldn't read it. But after 3 hours of searching her study for anything to explain her hold over Brandon, I'm past caring about shoulds. "Dearest Brandon," it begins in Clara's perfect cursive. "I know you're worried about Naomi's behavior lately. The incidents I've mentioned are getting worse." My hands shake as I scan the pages. Every accident in the house, the broken vase, the stained carpets. The missing jewelry carefully documented and twisted into evidence of my instability. She's been writing to him weekly, building her case against me one letter at a time. Perhaps the stress of losing her mother has affected her more deeply than we thought. I've noticed concerning patterns. The study door creaks. I freeze, letter clutched to my chest. "Finding anything interesting?" Clara's voice slides through the darkness like ice water. I turn slowly. She stands in the doorway, still wearing her flower-arranging apron, scissors dangling from one hand. "How long have you been poisoning him against me?" "Poisoning?" She steps inside, closing the door behind her. Such an ugly word. "I'm protecting my son from a woman who clearly needs help." "By lying to him?" "Am I lying?" Her scissors catch the lamplight. "You are in my private study, reading my personal correspondence. Rather proves my point about your instability." The trap closes around me. She planned this, probably left the journal visible on purpose, knowing I'd search her study eventually. "I'll tell Brandon everything." "With what evidence?" "Your word against mine?" She smiles that poison-sweet smile. The troubled widow, desperate to keep her husband, breaking into her mother-in-law's private space? Brandon will be heartbroken, but he'll understand why I had to tell him. Tell him what? About recommending psychiatric help, of course. I've already discussed it with his sister. She agrees you're showing signs of paranoid behavior. My back hits the desk. I didn't even know Brandon had a sister. You're going to need help, dear. Clara moves closer, scissors glinting. Professional help. And Brandon will insist on it once he hears about this latest episode. The letter crumples in my fist. You won't get away with this. I already have. She reaches past me, plucking a rose from the vase on her desk. You know what I love about roses? They're absolutely beautiful, but handle them wrongly. She snips the flower's head off in one clean cut. And they can hurt you badly. The rose head falls at my feet, its petals scattering like drops of blood across the floor. Liam's kitchen feels like sanctuary after 3 days of Clara's psychological warfare. He slides a mug of coffee across his counter, watching me with careful eyes. "You can't go back there," he says. I wrap my hands around the warm ceramic. "I have nowhere else." "She's going to destroy you, Naomi." I've seen this before. My sister went through something similar with her mother-in-law. The coffee burns my tongue, but I welcome the pain. It's real, unlike Clara's manufactured concern. "What happened to your sister?" "She lost custody of her kids." His jaw tightens. Her mother-in-law convinced everyone she was unstable. By the time anyone realized the truth, it was too late. My phone buzzes. Another message from Brandon. "Mother says you haven't been home in days. Please call me." "He has a sister," I say suddenly. "Did you know that?" Clara mentioned her, but Brandon's never. The revelation hits me harder now. There's so much I don't know about my own husband's family. Liam leans forward. "I've been doing some digging." Brandon's sister Sarah was institutionalized 15 years ago. Clara told everyone she had a nervous breakdown after their father left. The mug slips from my hands, shattering against the floor. Coffee spreads like dark blood across the tiles. "I'm sorry," I whisper, but Liam's already grabbing paper towels. "There's more," he says, kneeling to clean up the mess. "Sarah got out 5 years ago. She's been trying to contact Brandon, but Clara intercepts everything. I found her, Naomi. She's willing to talk." My phone buzzes again. "Clara, this time, darling, I've scheduled an appointment with Dr. Matthews." Brandon agrees it's for the best. The pieces click together: Sarah's institutionalization, Clara's letters about my instability, the carefully orchestrated incidents. History repeating itself with surgical precision. "I need to see Sarah," I say, standing so abruptly that Liam startles. Before Clara can dash. The doorbell rings. Through Liam's front window, I see Clara on his porch, wearing her Sunday best and carrying one of her signature flower arrangements. Behind her stands a man in a white coat, holding what looks like official papers. "Naomi?" Clara's voice carries through the door, honey-sweet and deadly. "Dr. Matthews is here to help. Brandon's very worried about you, dear." "We all are." Liam grabs my arm, pulling me toward his back door. "There's a car waiting around the corner. Sarah's expecting you." I hear the front door's lock turning. Clara must have charmed a spare key from someone. "Time's up." "Run," Liam whispers. "Find Sarah. Find the truth." Sarah's hands shake as she slides the photo across the diner table. The image shows a younger Brandon, maybe 16, standing beside a girl with his same dark eyes. Behind them, Clara tends to her roses, but her attention is fixed on the camera, her smile a perfect mask. "That was 2 weeks before she convinced everyone I was crazy," Sarah says. Her fingers drum against her coffee cup, a nervous rhythm. "I found Dad's letters, you see. The ones that proved she'd driven him away with her. Methods." My phone vibrates again, the 20th call from Brandon today. I silence it. "What methods?" "The same ones she's using on you. Isolation. Gaslighting. Little cruelties disguised as care." Sarah's laugh is brittle. "Did she start with the roses yet?" "She always starts with the roses." A chill runs through me. "What do you mean?" "Watch her garden." Count the bushes. She plants a new one for each person she. Sarah stops, pressing her lips together. I shouldn't have contacted you. She'll know somehow. She always knows. The diner's bell chimes. An elderly couple enters, but my heart still jumps. Brandon doesn't remember you. How is that possible? Selective memory is a powerful thing. Especially when Mother Dearest feeds you the right story for 15 years. Sarah pulls out another photo, Brandon visiting her in the institution. Clara hovering nearby. These visits stopped after 6 months. Mother said I was too unstable, that seeing me upset him too much. My phone screen lights up with a text from Liam. Clara filed a missing persons report. Police involved now. I need proof, I say, standing abruptly. Something concrete that Brandon can't deny. Sarah grabs my wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. I had proof once. Look where it got me. She glances around the diner, lowering her voice. But there might be something. In her garden shed, behind the rose trellises, there's a loose floorboard. Mother keeps her real diary there, not the fake one she leaves for people to find. The bell chimes again. This time, I recognize the precise click of heels on linoleum. Well, Clara's voice carries across the diner. What a lovely family reunion. She stands in the doorway, elegant as ever in her gardening clothes, pruning shears hanging from her belt. Behind her, I glimpse Brandon's familiar silhouette through the diner's window. Sarah's hand tightens on my wrist, her nails digging in. Don't let her see you're afraid, she whispers. That's when she strikes. Clara approaches our table, each step measured and deliberate. Naomi, darling, you had us so worried. And Sarah. How long has it been? 15 years since your episode? The pruning shears glint under the fluorescent lights, and I notice something dark crusted near the blades. Soil from her beloved roses, surely. It has to be soil. The garden shed's lock gives way easily. Clara never bothered securing it properly, confident in her control over her domain. Rain hammers the tin roof as I slip inside, Sarah's words echoing in my head. Behind the rose trellises. Loose floorboard. My phone lights up. Brandon's message makes my stomach turn. Come home. We can get you help. Please. The beam of my flashlight catches movement, just my reflection in Clara's pruning tools, hanging in perfect rows like surgical instruments. I count them twice. One set is missing. The floorboard creaks under my weight. It's not loose, it's been recently nailed down. My fingers bleed as I pry it up, splinters embedding themselves deep under my nails. There's a book bound in dark leather, its pages swollen with age and secrets. As I reach for it, the shed door swings shut. I wondered how long it would take you to find it. Clara's voice, soft as rose petals. Sarah never made it this far. The flashlight beam catches her face, transformed by shadows into something ancient and terrible. She holds the missing pruning shears. Brandon's waiting at the house, she says, moving closer. He's finally agreed to have you committed. For your own good, of course. Like you did with Sarah? Sarah was weak. But you. She touches my cheek with cold fingers. You have potential. You could learn to tend the roses properly. I clutch the diary to my chest. I'll show Brandon everything. The letters, the diary dash. That's not my diary, dear. Her smile widens. Check the date. The pages fall open. The handwriting is mine or a perfect forgery. Entries detailing paranoid thoughts, violent fantasies, all dated over the past months. You've been planning this since my mother's funeral. Longer. Since Brandon first mentioned you. The shares snap open and closed, a rhythmic threat. I do love fresh roses. They need such careful pruning. Headlights sweep across the shed's window. Brandon's car. He'll believe me, I whisper, but my voice shakes. Like he believed Sarah? His own sister? Clara laughs softly. Love is blind, dear. But a mother's vision? Crystal clear. The shed door opens. Brandon stands there, backlit by the car's headlights, holding commitment papers. It's okay, honey, he says, reaching for me. Mother explained everything. Clara's shears glint in the darkness, and I notice again that dark crust near the blades. Not soil. Never soil. The diary falls from my numb fingers as Brandon steps forward, Clara's perfect smile blooming behind him like a poisonous flower. The pruning shears clatter to the shed floor as Brandon's eyes fix on something behind me, Sarah, standing in the doorway. Soaked from the rain and holding her phone. I've been recording everything, little brother, she says. Every word. Every threat. Clara's mask slips for just a moment, revealing something ancient and terrible beneath. Sarah, darling. You're not well enough to be Dash. Play it, I tell Sarah, my voice steadier than I feel. The recording fills the small space, Clara's voice discussing her plans for me, her methods, her previous victims. Including Brandon's father. Turn that off, Clara snaps, reaching for the shears. But Brandon's faster, kicking them away. Where is he? Brandon's voice cracks. Where's Dad really? Clara's laugh sounds like breaking glass. Where all the roses grow best, darling. Under the garden. She straightens her gardening apron with precise movements. He was going to take you away. Both of you. I couldn't allow that. Brandon stumbles back, his face draining of color. The new rose bushes. Every year, you plant. For everyone who threatens my garden. Clara's smile returns, serene and terrible. Your father. That nosy detective. And soon. She looks at me with something like pride. Well, some flowers need special attention to bloom properly. You're insane, Brandon whispers. I'm a mother protecting her family. She reaches for him, but he recoils. Everything I've done was for you, to keep you close, to keep you mine. I edge toward the door, toward Sarah, but Clara moves with surprising speed, grabbing the shears. Nobody leaves my garden, she hisses, lunging forward. The world narrows to a flash of steel, a spray of warm red. But it's Clara who screams. Brandon stands between us, the shears buried in his shoulder. No more, he gasps. No more pruning. Clara's mask shatters completely. She releases the shears, stumbling backward. My boy, my precious boy. Police are here, Sarah says quietly, her phone still recording. I called them before we came. They're excavating the garden. Red and blue lights strobe through the rain, illuminating Clara's roses in hellish bursts. She looks at her flowers, then at her bloodied hands, and begins to laugh. They'll grow back, she says, touching a rose petal with crimson fingers. They always grow back. As the police swarm the garden, I hold Brandon upright, watching Clara stroke her roses one last time before the handcuffs click shut. Some flowers, she calls over her shoulder, are worth dying for. The rain washes red from the petals, but the roots below know what they've been fed. They always know. The last rose bush comes out of the ground as the forensics team works under floodlights. Brandon stands beside me, his shoulder bandaged, watching them sift through the soil that fed his mother's garden for 15 years. "For bodies so far," Sarah says quietly, joining us at the police line. "Dad was the first." Brandon's hand finds mine in the darkness. "I remember him promising to take us away. I thought it was a dream." The garden lies gutted, Clara's perfect rose reduced to empty holes and evidence markers. From her holding cell, she can't see what they're doing to her roses, but somehow I know she feels it. "They found this," Sarah holds out a small box, dirt still clinging to its edges. "Dad's letters. The real ones." Brandon takes it with trembling fingers but doesn't open it. "I don't know if I can." "You don't have to." "Not yet." I touch the box gently. "Some truths can wait." Liam appears with cups of coffee, steam rising in the cold air. "They're charging her with 4 counts of first-degree murder." The DA says dash. "I don't want to know," Brandon interrupts. "Please." We stand in silence, watching the excavation continue. Each shovelful of earth could reveal another secret, another life Clara pruned to maintain her perfect garden. The detective approaches with evidence bags, Clara's journals, her pruning shears, photographs of her victims. "We'll need statements from all of you," she says. "But it can wait until morning." As she walks away, Sarah pulls out her phone. "Listen to this." It's from her last recording session with her flower arrangement students. She plays the audio. Clara's voice, serene as ever, "The secret to a perfect garden is knowing which flowers need to be removed. Some blooms, no matter how beautiful, threaten the whole garden. A good gardener knows when to cut them away." Brandon turns away, but I catch his expression, grief mixed with something darker. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition of what he might have become under Clara's careful cultivation. "We should go," I say, but he shakes his head. "One more thing." He walks to the last remaining rose bush, Clara's prized white roses, her first plantings. With deliberate movements, he pulls it up by the roots. The hole it leaves is small, unremarkable. Just empty soil waiting for something new to grow. A letter arrives the next day, postmarked before Clara's arrest. Inside, a single dried rose petal and 7 words, "Some gardens bloom best in the dark." I burn the letter, but keep the petal. A reminder that beauty can hide poison, and that some roots run deeper than blood. Brandon plants wildflowers where the roses used to grow. They're chaotic, untamed, and absolutely perfect.
"Get out. You're no daughter of mine." My mother's voice is a furious roar, her face flushed with anger as she glares at me, clutching the kitchen knife in both hands, the tip pointed directly at me. "I can't support a leech that doesn't even contribute to living expenses," she yells. "Not only do I contribute to the household expenses, but over half of my income, $3,000 a month, goes to this house." I've explained this to her countless times, but it never sinks in. She's lost her temper before, but I never imagined she'd wield a knife against me. I carefully maintain my distance, trying not to provoke her further, her cutting words ringing in my ears. "If I knew you'd become such a parasite, I would have never given birth to you. My name is Catherine, and I'm 29 years old. Through hard work, I've become a systems engineer at a major corporation, inspired by my father, who always had a passion for computers. He loved tinkering with machines since he was a child. The first time he saw a computer, he was utterly amazed. Back then, computers were exciting, but the latest models are truly incredible. Look at this one. It's so thin yet the display is so clear," he would say, smiling as he took me, then just a grade schooler, to electronics stores. He'd show me the newest computer models, pointing out their features and teaching me about them. Seeing my father so enthusiastic about computers piqued my interest. My father, usually a man of few words, would always open up and teach me a lot about computers. Soon enough, I realized I was better at using computers than most of my peers, which further fueled my desire to delve deeper. I went on to major in engineering in college. When job hunting, I naturally gravitated towards computer-related fields. Now, I work happily as a systems engineer at my current company. While most of my work is remote, I've achieved significant results compared to my peers. Occasionally, I'd visit my childhood home and chat about work with my father. Those were the good times. But one day, he suddenly collapsed. I got a call from my mother and rushed to the hospital. Is Dad okay? He just dropped. I called 911 right away. They started tests as soon as we got to the hospital. They said it seems to be a subarachnoid hemorrhage and he needs immediate surgery. He's in the operating room now. I just don't know how we're going to get by from now on. Oh no, Dad, I thought, hoping and praying for my father's safety as I waited. A few hours later, the doctor came out and updated us on his condition. While the surgery was successful, they said there might be lasting effects like difficulty moving his limbs. At least he was alive, and for that, I was grateful. At my side, my mother remarked, I wonder how he's going to manage work now. I'm worried if he'll ever be able to work like before. What am I supposed to do if our main source of income is gone? It was always like this with her, always thinking of herself before anyone else. Seeing her like that just broke my heart even more. During my father's hospitalization, I noticed that he indeed struggled with his limbs, just as the doctor had warned. He worked hard in physiotherapy before his discharge, but it seemed the after effects were here to stay. Throughout his hospital stay, my mother would drop off just the bare essentials for him and leave almost immediately. Considering his commute to his current job and his physical condition, my father decided to retire early. With his need for constant care, I had a discussion with my mother about his future. With his condition, it's hard for him to live on his own. So, I hope you can help take care of him, Mom. I wasn't really expecting a response to begin with. I'm quite busy with various things, so I can't possibly take care of your dad. My mom dismissed the idea instantly. I felt disappointed. She was never the type to prioritize family. Even when I was little, she always placed herself first. However, I believed that she loved my father and thought she would lend a helping hand now that he was in this condition, but my plea for her to help take care of him was rejected as well. That's the way it is, huh? Got it. In that case, I'll come live there and take care of Dad myself. When can you come? Since my job is primarily remote, I figured I could balance work and caregiving as long as I had a computer and a stable internet connection. I knew life would be tough balancing work, caregiving, and house chores, but I decided to move back to my parents' house for my beloved father. The day I moved back, while I was sorting out my belongings, my mom talked to me. Hey, about meals, make sure we can eat by 7 a.m., okay? It's good to have a balanced diet with grilled fish, salad, and stuff for breakfast, considering our health. And please make sure to put the garbage in small bags and take it out frequently. I hate any unpleasant smells. Also, we need to clean the house every day. Ah, I'm glad you came back home, she said. She could take care of herself. But her attitude changed quickly, and she started to offload all the household chores onto me. However, despite her demands, I couldn't help but notice how dirty the house was. It seemed like she hadn't been doing any house chores at all. Sure enough, I ended up doing all the household chores by myself while she did nothing. She wasn't even home most of the time, living her life as she pleased. I was swamped every day, juggling work, caregiving, and household chores. My slightly thinner father would say, I'm sorry for causing you trouble. You have your job too. But I just shook my head slowly and smiled at him. Don't apologize, Dad. It's not your fault. I'm glad I came back home. I enjoyed talking with you. Hearing this, my father seemed a bit relieved. His condition wasn't so severe that he was bedridden or unable to eat by himself. I only had to assist him a little in his daily life, so it wasn't extremely tough, and I was happy to spend a lot of time with him, just like when I was a child. On the other hand, my mother, who did nothing, would still find things to complain about. Catherine, your cooking is kind of bland and simple, isn't it? I wonder if Dad is getting enough nutrients from such a menu for a sick man like your dad. Don't you think you should add more variety to the meals? What a pity for parents to have such an undutiful daughter. She made these comments while gobbling down my cooking. However, since she brought up my father, I took her criticism seriously. Considering his age and reduced appetite, I thought it might be easier for him to eat if I prepared more small dishes rather than big platters. With this in mind, I increased the number of dishes, but my mother didn't say anything. Instead, a few days later, she commented, "The meals recently have too many dishes. Your dad and I are old. We can't eat this much. You've been living alone until now. Don't you know how to save money?" While she was clearing her plate, I couldn't help but retort, "It's not that. You told me to add more side dishes for dinner. I'm just preparing more small bowls so that Dad doesn't get tired of the food and to stimulate his appetite." Then Mom let out an obvious sigh and stood up from her seat. What an attitude. It's as if I've been nagging and you're doing it reluctantly. That's so patronizing. I can't believe it. You take every little opinion as a complaint. That's why you're still not married. Expressing her anger with her whole body, Mom stomped her way to the sofa in front of the TV. Of course, the dishes were left on the table just as they were. Mom, now sitting heavily on the sofa, looked straight at me and yelled just one word, "Coffee." I thought to myself, who does she think is going to make it for her? As I cleaned up the table. Then Mom threw a cushion at me from the sofa. "Come on, hurry up and make the coffee. You're almost always home and not going to work. You say you're taking care of Dad, but I bet you're just after his retirement money. And yet, you don't even do the housework properly. You're really unreasonable." "Not this talk again. I've told you I've switched to working from home. When I'm in my room, I'm in meetings or working." No matter how I explained it, Mom refused to understand anything about working from home. In her mind, I had apparently moved back home under the pretense of caregiving, not contributing to living expenses, and was a disappointment to my parents. In reality, I am the one taking care of Dad, so why does she think I have access to and am misusing his retirement money? At the end of the day, it's me who's taking care of Dad, earning money for my parents' living expenses, and doing all the housework. I've been swung around by Mom's whims since I was little, but I've reached my limit. I feel bad for Dad, but I can't live with the three of us in this house any longer. A few days after making up my mind, I accompanied Dad to his physical therapy. He has the will to do it, and although we can't expect dramatic improvements, at least he's not getting worse. The doctor encouraged us to keep up the good work. When we returned home, we crossed paths with Mom, who was hurriedly leaving the house with big bags in hand. It's not unusual for Mom to be out of the house, and she often comes back with big bags from department store shopping sprees. So I didn't think much of it. However, the next day when I finally decided to go shopping and opened my closet, I realized all my cherished bags and accessories were gone. What? Why? I don't wear them all the time, and I haven't changed their location, so they should definitely be here. Suddenly, I recalled the image of my hurried mother from the previous day, and with a hunch, I confronted her. "Mom, did you go into my room yesterday?" "What's with the sudden question?" she snapped. "In the first place, this is my house, and I'm free to enter any room I want." "Then what's in that bag?" I asked, pointing to the high-end brand bag she was holding. "You sure had the money to buy luxury items. You're always telling me not to waste money." "That's right. Since you waste money, I had you compensate for it." Confused by her words, I furrowed my brows, and Mom started laughing gleefully. "You had some pretty good bags, didn't you? Even just the bags and accessories amounted to a good sum of money." Mom had sold my accessories without my permission and used the money to buy things for her hobbies. I was furious and shouted, "What's this? I can't believe it. You stole and then sold them. That's worse than a thief. Give them back. Pay me back." Then, Mom twisted her face like a demon and yelled, "I can't believe my own daughter is talking back to her mother. When I was a child, I absolutely obeyed my parents. I worked for my parents. I took care of them. And yet you do nothing but complain." She hit the table with all her might. "Then why don't you help take care of Dad for once, huh? Do you remember ever taking care of him since I came back? Who prepared his clothes for changing? Who supported his chair when he stood up? You don't even do that much, and you say you're taking care of him. You're the one being taken care of the most in this house." Unable to hold back any longer, I too slammed my hands down on the desk, glaring at my mother. She had a bad relationship with my paternal grandmother and was treated harshly, similar to what you might call harassment from the mother-in-law. I couldn't say anything about that, but the one thing I couldn't accept was her claiming she was taking care of my father. My father had given up on receiving care from my mother long ago. Still, he tried his best to engage in small talk, bringing up topics from TV shows or stories he heard from friends during rehab. But as soon as my father would start talking, my mother would swiftly disappear from the scene. I wondered how she could claim she was taking care of him so confidently when she wasn't doing anything. While I was lost in thought, my mother remained silent. Slowly, she took her hands off the desk, turned her back to me without saying a word, and headed toward the kitchen. Is she just going to give me the silent treatment and run away from this discussion? I thought, sighing. Unexpectedly, my mother returned quickly. She approached briskly, holding a kitchen knife in both hands. Mom, her face, now turned a deep red, was like nothing I'd ever seen before. Shaking with anger, she yelled at me in a voice louder than I had ever heard from her. Get out of this house, you parasitic leech. Living here, just waiting for your father's retirement funds. In that moment, I realized none of my words had reached her at all. To my mother, no matter how much I cared for my father or how much I worked, I was nothing more than a pest. I'll find a new place and leave as soon as possible. I slowly backed away, saying this while creating distance between us. Seeing that my mother didn't move, I rushed into my room. I thought I wouldn't feel anything being rejected by such a distant mother, but tears wouldn't stop flowing from my eyes, not from sadness, but from intense anger. I immediately sprang into action. I started preparing to move out that very day. I consulted a colleague at work who had a friend in real estate, and they helped me out. During my free time, I packed my belongings into cardboard boxes. Finding a new place didn't take long, thanks to the help of my colleague. Once everything was ready for the move, I talked to my father. Dad, can we talk for a bit? What's wrong? I told my father everything about how my mother had treated me. That's terrible. I had noticed something was off with your mom's attitude, but I felt like I was causing you both trouble and found it hard to speak up. I'm sorry. It's not your fault, Dad. In fact, I have something on my mind too. When I was here, she pushed all the housework onto me, cleaning, laundry, cooking, you name it. It was like I was her housekeeper. On top of that, she would always come to me for money, and it was troubling me as well. My father continued, even now, when I need care, she only tends to Catherine and doesn't lift a finger to help her daughter. I'm really disappointed in your mom's behavior, so I've actually been thinking about getting a divorce. I see. You've been through a lot too, Dad. No, compared to what you've been through, it's nothing really. Thank you. Actually, Dad, being able to come back home and live with you has been the happiest thing for me. And I meant it from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to stay with my father from now on, too. Dad, there's something I want to talk to you about. Aware of my father's feelings toward my mother, a plan had formed in my mind. A few days later, we decided to move out while my mother was away. She was out every Wednesday from morning to after lunch, attending her hula dance classes and having lunch with her friends, returning after 3 p.m. We arranged for the movers to come on a Wednesday morning when we were sure she wouldn't be home. They loaded our belongings onto the truck. As I realized this was my last time in this house, I felt a pang of sadness. I got into the rented car. I wasn't alone. My father was with me. Since both of us wanted to get away from my mother, we decided to move out and live together, just the two of us. In the car, my father spoke. Catherine, was this the right choice? You could have taken this chance to free yourself from the burden of taking care of me. Don't say that, Dad. I want to live with you. That's my greatest happiness. Let's work hard together from now on. Thank you. The move was over by the afternoon, and we sat down to eat the takeout lunch we bought, chatting away. Sorry about today. We didn't have much time, so it's just convenience store lunch boxes. I remember those. I used to eat them often before Catherine came back. I couldn't find the time to cook because of work. Your mom always had something to say about it, though. Dad laughed as he said this. Even such simple conversations made the meal taste delicious. After taking a break, we started to unpack and settle in. When the phone rang, it was from Mom. I picked up and switched to speakerphone so Dad could hear her. Hello. Why are you two suddenly gone? Mom's voice sounded frantic over the phone. Why are both your and Dad's things gone? What does this mean? Dad and I decided to move out together. It seemed like the right time, especially since you told me to leave anyway. Is there a problem? You don't have to worry about caregiving or living expenses anymore. What am I supposed to do about my living expenses without Dad? I'm relying on his pension and retirement fund. Where are you now? Why don't you handle your own affairs? We're already in our new place. I won't tell you where, but we bought a condo in a high-rise. A condo? In a high-rise? That's where rich people live. Don't joke around. There's no way you two can afford that. Mom clearly didn't believe us, but it was the truth. We had moved to a high-rise condo as close as possible to the hospital where Dad was receiving treatment. I've said this many times before, but I have a steady job. You called it a side job, but the company I work for is quite large, and I've been working there long enough to be entrusted with significant responsibilities. You might not remember, but the $3,000 I put into the account every month was for me, not Dad. I thought that was Dad's pension. The balance is high because of his retirement fund, right? Dad's salary was never that high, right? And the retirement fund, it was gone the month after he received it. I saw the credit card statement. It was all spent on designer bags, so it must have been you who used it up. That's why I've been supporting the family. I didn't know. No one told me anything. Explaining further seemed pointless, so I continued. It's not that you weren't told. You just didn't want to listen. I've told you many times. Dad told me about it. Even though he was working and you were at home, you were always out playing with friends. He said your spending habits were so bad that he had to manage the finances. And when you couldn't go out and play as you liked, you went around calling him a male chauvinist. Yet now, all you can think about is money, Catherine. You deceived me. Knowing all this, if you have so much money, come back home right now. For Mom, family seemed to be just a wallet. She never worried about Dad's condition, only about money. Yet she was sloppy with managing the bank book and thoughtlessly used the credit card without seeing any issues. I couldn't believe how she had managed to live her life like this. Dad, growing impatient with the endless conversation, stepped in. I thought you might listen if it was our daughter talking, but I was mistaken. We've been together for a long time, and for that, I'm grateful. From now on, you can live your life however you want, and I won't interfere. Let's get a divorce. Divorce? What about my living expenses? You'll be able to live without me. I'll send the divorce papers later. Just sign them. She truly only thought of herself. As I stood there in disbelief, Dad ended the call without another word. I'm sorry for making you feel bad, Dad said quietly. With those words, my father spoke, and I replied, Thank you, Dad. The next day, we headed to the hospital for Dad's appointment. I never expected to live in such a convenient place, Catherine. Thank you. I thought it would make your life easier, Dad. Plus, living here is much more affordable than in a downtown high-rise, so we'll be more comfortable. We left the house and arrived at the hospital in about 10 minutes. The automatic doors opened, and to our surprise, Mom was sitting on a chair near the entrance. She had apparently been waiting for us since morning. As soon as she saw us, she stood up abruptly and walked towards us. The phone call yesterday left me stunned. I haven't heard anything about your salary or you leaving with Dad, Mom demanded. Her hand suddenly grabbed mine, and she insisted, Let me live in the high-rise too. I remained calm, beyond anger. Why did she think she could manipulate us like this? I felt pity for her lack of consideration for our family. This decision was between Dad and me. Please accept it. I no longer see you as my mother. Thank you for everything until now, but I need to live my own life. I won't allow it. I'll need your permission, she retorted, gripping tighter. This is a hospital. Let go of my hand or I'll call the police, I warned. She glanced around, noticing other patients and hospital staff approaching with security. Panicking, she released me. Is everything okay here? A staff member asked as Mom hurriedly left. That was my mother. I apologized for the disturbance, I explained, watching her retreat weakly. In the following days, Mom attempted to lurk around the hospital, seeking us out but only asserting herself against those she deemed weaker. After being rebuffed by security and confronted by other patients, she stopped coming. That hospital visit marked the last time I saw her. Dad consulted a lawyer and pursued divorce earnestly. Despite Mom's protests and demand for alimony, she learned from the lawyer that her position was untenable. She tearfully pleaded for help, but the lawyer directed her to local support services, and the divorce proceeded without her consent. Several months after the hospital incident, the divorce was finalized. Dad decided to sell the house, which Mom vehemently opposed at first. However, upon realizing she would receive a substantial sum from the property division, her attitude swiftly changed. It was unsettling to see her transform into a stranger, solely focused on money until the end. After selling the house, we've been living in harmony, Dad remarked. Life settled into a routine of work, housekeeping, and caregiving. The support services here were better than in our old neighborhood. allowing me to manage work more consistently with the help of daytime caregivers. Dad's health gradually declined due to aging, prompting discussions about possibly moving him to a care facility. Just as we adjusted to this new normal, an unknown number called. Assuming it was work-related, I answered, only to hear my mother's voice. Catherine, I'm almost out of savings. It's only been a few months since we sold the house, and it's almost gone. Can you lend me some money? Consider it your final act of kindness to your mother. I don't have any money left to give you. Dad and I are finally happy. Please leave us alone, I responded firmly. Leave us alone? How dare you speak to your mother like that? Giving me money shouldn't be a problem for you, Catherine. What's the point of working at such a good company if you can't support your own mother? Don't contact me again. I was too exhausted to argue further. I ended the call and blocked her number. Despite my efforts, she kept changing her number and calling back. She eventually figured out how to bypass the block, turning it into a frustrating game of evasion for me. Eventually, I changed my own number, effectively ending the calls. In the following months, Dad heard snippets about Mom through mutual acquaintances. It turned out, after her savings dwindled, she moved into a modest apartment in the suburbs. Despite never having worked before, she managed with a part-time job, barely making ends meet. It seems she's finally learning to stand on her own, Dad remarked. I guess I might have spoiled her too much, I admitted quietly. You might be right, Dad sighed deeply. Are you happy now? I asked, smiling gently at him. Absolutely. Thank you, Catherine. I'm sorry for all the trouble life caused you, he replied sincerely. Move out because you're in the way of a pregnant woman, Alicia said, gently stroking her belly. Wouldn't a pregnant woman have a kinder expression? I wanted to ask, given how malicious Alicia's face looked. I took a quick glance at David. You can sleep in the storage room, he said. Seeing David in agreement with Alicia, my lifelong love for him cooled instantly. Yet a touch of sentiment remained, leaving me a bit melancholic. All right then, I responded. In response to my words, David happily took Alicia's hand. Alicia gazed dreamily at David. Seeing them like that made the melancholy vanish, replaced with anger welling up from deep within. I'll leave by tomorrow, I said. Yeah. Oh, maybe you should stay out tonight. After all, this is now mine and Alicia's home, David said, overjoyed. I nodded slightly before leaving the house. They won't be laughing for long, I thought. After leaving the house, I imagined what was next and cracked a smile. My name is Catherine Taylor. I'm a 46-year-old housewife. Before marriage, I worked intensely, but that was over 20 years ago. Nowadays, I enjoy doing daily chores and sipping coffee, just an ordinary middle-aged lady. But my hobby is investing. I've been doing it since before marriage. Recently, I've been earning significant dividends, treating myself to lavish hotel brunches and spa visits, leading a pretty elegant life. My husband David is 40 years old, a salesman for a major company. He's gained quite a bit of weight, and frankly, he's been rather smelly lately, but he's good with words given his profession. He may look big, but I loved him. I felt he should probably lose some weight for health reasons, but he had this cute mascot-like appeal, so I didn't see the need to force him into a diet. David and I have a daughter named Emily. She has inherited David's features, and her slim, almost model-like beauty is complemented by her academic prowess and athletic achievements, even making it to national competitions. Despite her many talents, Emily remains humble and hardworking. It's as if we, the geese, gave birth to a swan. Both David and I dote on Emily, often being told we're overprotective. David has a bit of a weakness for younger women, but he chose to marry an older woman like me and cherish our family. So, I thought a wandering gaze here, and there was inevitable. We lived in a condo we bought around the time Emily was born, but it was getting old and they were considering raising the maintenance fees recently. Amidst all this, Emily decided to share an apartment near her college. At the same time, one of my relatives approached us about inheriting a now vacant house. David and I decided to renovate that house and move there. But who could have known that this would cause issues between David and me, who had been smooth sailing up until then? The condo we had was a 4-bedroom, including a guest room, but the new house is just a 2-bedroom. Although it's smaller than before, considering our retirement, we made it a single story, and it's been very comfortable. One of the rooms, which serves as a study and a guest room, can be divided to make an additional room for Emily if she ever comes back. David started coming home late every night due to work dinners and somehow always found reasons to go out even on weekends. Sleeping next to David, who would come home reeking of alcohol and cigarettes, was unbearable for me, even if we had separate beds. Because of that, even though we originally shared a bedroom, I've been sleeping in the study ever since we moved. When it came time to send out movie announcements, I mailed letters to various places. David isn't good with that sort of thing, so I sent letters on his behalf to his family and relatives. As for me, since my parents have passed away, I simply wrote a brief note and sent it to friends and relatives on my mother's side. I haven't been in contact with any relatives from my father's side because of my half-sister Alicia. Alicia is my half-sister, 14 years younger than me. When I was in 7th grade, my mother passed away, and about 6 months later, my father remarried. Alicia was born to him and his new wife. At the time of their marriage, Alicia was already 2 years old, so I initially thought it was a union of two families with kids. About 5 years into their marriage, my father and his new wife were involved in an accident and never returned. At their funeral, relatives from my dad's side told me that he and his new wife had been childhood friends, and everyone had always thought they would end up together. But my mom had set them up through her boss, and my dad felt he couldn't refuse. That left his childhood friend out in the cold. To think that behind their smiles, my dad had a child with his second wife was a huge shock to me. Every time we had a family gathering, Alicia's favorite foods were served. She had brand name clothes, and she got the biggest room all to herself. If she said she wanted to go somewhere, they'd take her immediately. Meanwhile, I was burdened with all the chores from preparing meals to doing laundry. I had to work part-time jobs, and all the money I earned was taken away. I also had a small storage room under the stairs, and I had to beg for even basic necessities. By the time Alicia was in elementary school, she had heard about my mom from the relatives and started looking down on me. I worked several part-time jobs to save money and finally moved out. It was impossible for me to harbor any positive feelings towards Alicia, and I never told her about my marriage or that I had a child. A few weeks after moving, I was having tea and relaxing when the doorbell rang. When I answered, a man's voice mumbled, "Delivery," and on the screen was a person looking down. I thought maybe David had ordered something and opened the door, only to be left speechless. "Oh, Alicia, why are you here?" "Hi, sis. Long time no see. Just thought I'd drop by." While Alicia was wearing the hat I saw on the intercom, she wasn't a delivery person but my half-sister. Without waiting for a response, she walked past me, entered the living room, and sat down on the couch. I hurriedly followed her, standing in front of her, feeling small in her presence. "I figured you wouldn't open the door if you knew it was me, so I used a recorded voice. That's just low." "Geez, you're scary," I snapped at Alicia, who exaggeratedly feigned fear. It was clear she was putting on a show, evident from the smirk on her face. "I came for a visit." "What?" Alicia's nonsensical statement earned a cold response from me. Undeterred, she grinned and began explaining the reason for her unexpected visit. "But sis, you never even told me where you live. I got married, but my husband is always on business trips and it's getting boring. Plus, once my belly starts getting bigger, moving around becomes a hassle, right? Everyone told me to come stay with you." "Just go home. I don't even want anything to do with you." "Well, too bad. I already came here planning to stay with you." Listening to Alicia's audacious words only fueled my anger. Under my breath, I muttered, "Typical of a kleptomaniac's daughter." Hearing that, my anger reached its peak. "Get out. I never want to see your face again." "What's all the fuss about? People outside can hear you," David said. I was at a loss for words, surprised by David's unexpected return at such an odd hour. As I struggled to explain, Alicia stood up and walked over to David, intertwining her arm with his. David didn't seem to mind. In fact, he looked quite pleased. "Oh, Alicia's here. Welcome." "David, my sister was being mean. I thought it'd be nice to stay with you until the baby is born, but is that okay?" "Of course, I'd be thrilled. If you're okay with it, you can stay as long as you want." I was left dumbfounded, mouth agape, watching the exchange between David and Alicia. The closeness between them was more like that of lovers than siblings-in-law. "David, what's going on?" "Sheesh, don't be so cold to her. Are you just jealous of your cute little sister?" David's words left me speechless. I had confided in him about my family situation before our marriage, and yet he dared to say such things. We have a spare bed in the guest room. You could stay there. Really? Can I sleep in the same room with you, David? It might be nice to dream with Alicia by my side. Oh, David, you're so sweet. Their mushy conversation was giving me a headache. Ignoring me, the two of them went to the bedroom, arm in arm, to put away their belongings. But when they didn't return after several minutes, I had a sinking feeling and cautiously peeked into the room. There they were, wrapped in each other's arms. Living with Alicia feels like a dream come true. The babies thrilled too, living with Daddy. The word Daddy from Alicia's lips stunned me. David, the father? David, visibly overjoyed, nodded and embraced Alicia. Let's ask Sis to babysit so we can go on a date. Yeah, she's good for that, at least. As they kissed, tears streamed down my face as I watched through the crack in the door. From that moment on, they treated me like a mere servant. I complied, but secretly gathered evidence against them. The discoveries I made were shocking, pushing me to consider divorce. One day, Alicia lounged on my favorite sofa and gestured imperiously for me to move. You're in the way of a pregnant woman. Get out, she declared, her face twisted with malice as she caressed her belly. Her spiteful expression made me question, aren't pregnant women supposed to look more gentle? I glanced at David for a moment. You can sleep in the shed. Seeing David's side with Alicia extinguished any lingering affection I had for him, yet a trace of sadness lingered. Fine, I conceded. David eagerly clasped Alicia's hand in response. Alicia gazed at David with adoration, and their intimate moment confirmed any tenderness I once felt was now replaced with profound resentment. I'll leave tomorrow. Good, maybe find somewhere else to stay tonight. This is Alicia and my home now, David proclaimed triumphantly. Unnoticed, I nodded subtly and left the house. Enjoy your laughter while it lasts. As I stepped outside, a grin crept across my face as I contemplated the future. I checked into a hotel that night and made arrangements for the next steps. The following morning, I arranged for movers and planned a visit to City Hall before returning home that evening. Thoughts of new beginnings and liberated spirits kept me awake, buoyed by a newfound sense of freedom. The next day, I made a visit to the attorney's office before heading home. To my surprise, the moving company had already arrived and seemed puzzled. They explained that upon arrival, the house appeared empty except for a lone cardboard box near the entrance. True to their words, there it was, a small box with a note that read, "Feel free to take it." Inside, my cherished books and cosmetics lay haphazardly, books with bent corners and torn pages. At the bottom of the box lay David's wedding ring. Anger surged through me like a tidal wave. Upon entering the house, I found crumpled bedsheets, pajamas, and underwear strewn everywhere, piecing together what had transpired after my departure. Please pack all of this for me, I instructed the movers, closing the bedroom door and leading them to the study. Since David rarely read, the study overflowed with books collected by Emily and me over the years. With few clothes to my name, I decided it was time for a wardrobe refresh. In the living room, a note on the dining table caught my eye. It detailed David and Alicia's upcoming 6-day trip abroad, requested house cleaning during their absence, and bluntly stated the divorce proceedings would commence upon their return. His utter self-centeredness left me stunned, yet relieved at the ease of executing my plan in his absence. I had the movers pack all my belongings, leaving David's wedding ring on the kitchen counter. With that, I had departed from the house. After careful consideration, I purchased a cozy one-bedroom apartment near Emily's university, which happened to be on sale. I cherished the solitude it offered. On the day of David and Alicia's return, my phone incessantly rang. Without needing to glance at the caller ID, I calmly answered. Hello. Hey, what the hell is going on? David's voice rang with frantic urgency. Though the reason was evident, I replied nonchalantly. What do you mean, what's going on? Don't play dumb. Our house is gone. I couldn't help but burst into laughter, hearing David's agitation on the other end. After a hearty chuckle, I responded, well, it was my house, and I figured if I'm not going to live there, why keep it? We were living there. What about our stuff? Oh, don't worry. Everything's safely stored in a storage unit. I'll text you the location and access code. You've got to be kidding me. Bring back our house now. You certainly have a unique perspective. The land and the house are in my name, and the money to build it came from my investments, not a dime from you. David seemed to finally recollect the time the house was constructed. When I had consulted with him about whether to renovate or rebuild, he had shrugged and said, "I don't have the money right now. If you want to use yours, go ahead." So I handled all the arrangements and payments by myself, building the house to my liking. However, under Alicia's influence, David had conveniently forgotten these details. "Come on, the baby will be your niece or nephew. Do something about the house. Alicia's in a tough spot." My niece or nephew? I'd love to meet anyone who's thrilled about a child born from their spouse's affair. What are you talking about? You thought I didn't know? It seemed David genuinely believed I was unaware of everything. His confident demeanor quickly shifted. I pressed on. "I've known about your relationship with Alicia since the day she barged into our house. Since then, I've been gathering evidence. Remember that high-end baby monitor Alicia insisted on when she moved in? It's been recording." David was taken aback, uttering a surprised "what?" The baby monitor was one of Alicia's demands upon moving in, an expensive model costing several $1,000s. Initially reluctant, I caved under David's pressure and bought it. However, neither David nor Alicia bothered to check its settings after purchase, allowing me to secretly record everything in the bedroom, even in low light. It captured both of you in bed and everything that happened there. What? That's an invasion of privacy. At least I was only testing the baby monitor's capabilities. It's better than a man cheating with his wife's sister, don't you think? David was speechless. I continued in a cheerful tone. "Oh, by the way, I think the mailbox is still there. Can you check it for me?" "The mailbox?" "Yes, I believe something's been delivered." I heard David checking the mailbox over the phone, followed by a sharp intake of breath. "Good. It seems the certified mail has arrived. So, about the payment. Wait, there's one here for Alicia too. Are you blackmailing my sister-in-law?" "Why not? You both betrayed me, so it's compensation for that. Family or not, no excuses. From now on, talk to my lawyer. Goodbye." "Wait, Catherine." Ignoring David's plea, I hung up the phone. He tried calling repeatedly for about an hour before eventually giving up. It seemed he had contacted his lawyer, who then reached out to me, sounding somewhat weary. The next morning, my new phone rang unexpectedly, bearing the caller ID of a relative from my father's side. I hadn't shared my new number widely, suspecting Alicia had sought their aid. Anticipating a reprimand, I reluctantly began recording the call and answered. "Yes? How dare you evict Alicia, who's pregnant? Apologize to her immediately and offer her a new house as compensation." "Why should I apologize to the woman who had an affair with my husband? Whatever Alicia told you, she's the one who owes apologies and compensation. Like father, like daughter, you can't trust the child of a kleptomaniac." "You're right, she's the daughter of a man who betrayed his wife and had a child with his mistress. Blood ties don't change the fact that she's foolish enough to fall for her sister's husband. Must run in the family." "What?" "Yes, and tell Alicia to steer clear of me from now on. Not that she'll have the chance." Their words continued, but I ended the call. Finally voicing my pent-up emotions felt liberating. I immediately called my lawyer, resolved to summon Alicia and David. Revenge was far from over until I witnessed their stunned expressions. We convened at the lawyer's office. Alicia looked incensed, David sullen. It was clear neither felt remorse. "I never expected my sister to be so money-driven. This is unbelievable. If I'd known you were this greedy, I wouldn't have married you. I feel deceived," Alicia exclaimed. Their self-centered remarks left me more bewildered than angry. I laid out divorce papers and alongside them, another set, the marriage license. "I can reduce the settlement if you sign these." "If signing these means less payment, give them here," David said, snatching the pen and signing. Alicia smirked and signed too. I gathered the documents into a folder, offering them a satisfied smile. "I'll submit these to the county office," I announced confidently. "Did you forget, sis? I'm already married. They won't accept it," Alicia countered. "Oh, don't worry about that. You're already divorced," I replied calmly. "What?" Alicia's face froze in disbelief. I explained further. "The divorce was finalized in mediation yesterday." "I didn't know about this." "Well, you kept ignoring your mail. There were several summonses. Your ex-husband mentioned that he's planning to contest paternity for the child." "What?" Beside a stunned Alicia, David seemed oddly satisfied. "And why not? If they wait out the restriction period, he can marry Alicia. It's a dream scenario for him." I smiled innocently at David. Raising another man's child will be quite a challenge for you. What? The baby is mine, David protested, his voice wavering. Oh, you didn't know? How unfortunate. The baby Alicia is carrying actually belongs to her main boyfriend, a club promoter. Club promoter? David turned to Alicia sharply, who avoided his gaze, guilt written across her face. Seeing her reaction, David realized the truth. He paled visibly, shocked to the core. Between the compensation and child support for another man's baby, you're going to have your hands full. Good luck with that, I remarked coolly. Catherine, let's start over. I was wrong, David pleaded desperately. Emily's still here, just. David's plea was cut short as the door to the lawyer's office swung open, revealing a furious young woman storming in. David went pale at the sight of her. Emily, I gasped, surprised to see her there. Dad, you're the worst. How could you hurt Mom like that? I'm done with you. From now on, I'm living with Mom. You and that woman can just disappear. Emily's voice crackled with anger, a side of her I hadn't seen before. David stood frozen, while Alicia, insulted and shaking with rage, faced Emily's outbursts, unable to respond. Who's the loose woman now? Chasing after your sister's husband and cozying up to your main boyfriend, the club promoter. Are you out of your mind? I delivered a final blow to Alicia, leaving her speechless. But his house and car, Alicia attempted to defend herself. But I cut in. Oh, they're mine. I bought them with my stock dividends. We use them together, but in case of divorce, they're not his. A guy making just $3,000 a month can't afford that kind of lifestyle. $3,000? Alicia's face went pale, the reality of David's financial situation sinking in. David looked down in embarrassment. Anyway, good luck with everything, I concluded, taking my lawyer and Emily with me as I left. That evening, having dinner with Emily after so long was a true pleasure. I filed for divorce shortly afterward. By the time Alicia's waiting period for remarriage had passed, David and Alicia had also submitted their marriage license. Interestingly, it bore witness signatures from both me and Alicia's ex-husband. It turned out David had been having an affair with Alicia at work, even embezzling travel expenses for their secret getaways, which cost him his job when the company found out. Rumor has it he's now struggling with part-time jobs, barely making ends meet. Alicia, left to care for the child, found herself dumped by her boyfriend when he learned of her financial troubles, spending her days in tears. She pursued David out of jealousy, driven by my early marriage and children. Believing she could profit from David's prestigious job and income, Alicia falsely claimed her boyfriend's child was his, hoping to extract money from both him and her ex-husband. She intended to shift child-rearing responsibilities to me while indulging in clubbing. Now shunned by the family, Alicia attempted brief part-time work, but couldn't maintain it. Reports have them living together with the baby in a cramped one-room apartment. Meanwhile, Emily thrived in college life, her happiness evident even with a same-sex partner as her roommate, which I accepted without hesitation. For myself, life unfolded peacefully on stock dividends post-divorce. Surprisingly, I grew closer to Alicia's ex-husband, who initiated outings and affectionately transitioned from sister-in-law to calling me Catherine. Recently, his message hinted at an important discussion, leaving me oddly restless tonight, despite tempering expectations. Sitting at my vanity, I felt a flush of excitement, reminiscent of youthful infatuation. I really want a child of my own, my husband John remarked sarcastically. I couldn't hold back anymore and blurted out, "What, aren't I right here?" Throughout our marriage, John had frequently criticized me for our inability to conceive. Even now, he held my sister's baby in front of me as if to drive the point home. Ha! John looked genuinely surprised. Could he truly be feigning ignorance despite all the evidence? I wouldn't let him get away with it. I would make him see. My name is Natalie Johnson, a 25-year-old housewife, I reminded myself. All right, dinner's ready. I stirred the pot in the kitchen where a delightful aroma of spices and steam filled the air. Tasting the curry, I nodded to myself. The spice is just right, and the meat is tender. Just how he likes it. Just then, John returned home. I'm back, he announced, and I greeted him at the door. Welcome home. I made your favorite curry tonight. As I reached to take John's bag, ready to lead him to the dining room, he suddenly interrupted me. Hey, his grip tightened on my shoulder. A sharp gaze bore into my back. So, how did it go today? Was today the day? His words made me catch my breath. My heart raced and I felt dizzy. Answer me. I swallowed hard before responding. It didn't work this month either. We didn't conceive. I clenched my hands tightly. John sighed heavily at my reaction. Again? Why can't we have a child? Making curry just to appease me. It's so obvious. I'm sorry, but don't make excuses. All my friends had kids right after marriage. Thinking of names, buying baby clothes. They all seem so happy. I want that too, but we've only been married for 3 months. We don't need to rush. He clicked his tongue in frustration, staring intently at my face. Then, with a sneer, he added, maybe you're just infertile. Why don't you go see a gynecologist? Snatching his bag from me, he stormed off to our room. I covered my face with my hands. I too yearned for a child, to experience the miracle of new life, to cherish every moment of our child's growth. But perhaps I wasn't meant to be a parent. My parents disappeared when I was too young to remember them, leaving me and my twin sister behind. Growing up without parental love haunted me. Could someone like me ever be a good mother? It was a constant worry, but I couldn't give up. My desire for a child was genuine, and I believed that someday, God would bless us with one. I had to stay strong and wait for that day. And next month, there's the long-awaited wedding. It's a bit late, but that only makes me more excited. I encouraged myself to smile as I went to call John for dinner. Today was his birthday, and I had decorated a cake and prepared a gift, eagerly awaiting his return. The doorbell rang unexpectedly. It's rare for someone to ring the bell. I hurried to open it and found a woman as beautiful as an actress standing there, brushing her lustrous black hair off her shoulders. Hello there, she greeted me casually. It was my fraternal twin sister, Brittany. We looked nothing alike, I thought, taken aback. Brittany, what are you doing here? Oh, just thought I'd visit. But today's John's birthday. We were supposed to celebrate, just the two of us. I texted you, remember? Brittany gasped, clasping her hands together. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I've been feeling lonely since you got married. Since my marriage, Brittany had been dropping by unexpectedly, sometimes weekly, even every few days. Her visits often interrupted our alone time, making it hard for John and me to connect. Yet, whenever Brittany expressed loneliness, I couldn't bring myself to say anything. After all, she was my only family. Hey, Natalie, I brought you this bag. I haven't used it much lately. Brittany handed me a paper bag. Wow, this is from a famous brand. It's okay, really. I usually give them to friends anyway. This time, it's for you in Italy. Take it with you when you go out for dinner with friends. Oh, but you know I don't have many friends, unlike you. Look at this from the party I hosted recently. Brittany showed me a photo of herself with over 100 friends, all enjoying a lavish dinner. I chuckled. Brittany, you're so popular. You're the complete opposite of me. You're amazing. You work hard, have money, and a boyfriend, right? Well, of course. It's pretty standard for me, Brittany replied, beaming with pride. I smiled wryly at her confident response. Suddenly, Brittany froze, looking at the table, then burst into laughter, holding her stomach. Wait, did you make this cake yourself? Yeah, I admitted. Isn't that a bit odd? Buying cakes from a store would have been better received. Making it myself is just thankless. Poor Natalie, Brittany teased, leaning in with a smile. But that's what's cute about you, she added with a grin. Then her expression changed, eyes sparkling. Oh, I have some news to share. I'm home. Just then, John returned from work and we paused our conversation to welcome him. As I began cutting the cake, John and Brittany settled in to watch TV, getting excited over a show. This actress struggled to have kids until she was 40. That's so sad, John remarked. Yeah, really? Brittany agreed. They often bonded over celebrity gossip, like a real couple. Look, baby pictures, Brittany exclaimed, and my heart skipped a beat at those words. Children symbolize happiness to me. I believed it was a woman's duty to give birth. A woman who couldn't have children wasn't truly a woman. I agree, Brittany. We think alike, I replied softly, continuing to serve the curry. Right, Natalie. John teased, but Brittany suddenly covered her mouth. Oh, sorry. We're not talking about you. It's something else, she said, then smirked at me. A look I'd never seen on her before, filled with unmistakable malice. Brittany claimed she visited to see her lonely sister, and I couldn't refuse. But was that the whole truth? After the party ended and Brittany left, I received a message on my phone. I'm pregnant. Remember the news I mentioned? I'm also planning to get married. I'm sorry for finding happiness before you. My family is finally happy. I should have been overjoyed, ready to celebrate, but inside me, a dark feeling was brewing. Time flew by, and today was the long-awaited wedding day. We chose a small local church for the venue, somewhat modest to save money for a possible future with children. After dressing in my wedding gown, I enjoyed a moment of calm in the dressing room. But that peace shattered instantly. Bang! The door flew open. I'm here. Congratulations. Startled, I turned to see my sister, but an even more shocking sight awaited me. Brittany, dressed in white. What? You can't wear white to a wedding? I managed to say. Yes. Brittany twirled in her pure white dress, clasping her hands together dramatically. I tried to avoid it, but I just fell in love with this dress. Besides, she added with a sly smile, it suits me, doesn't it? This dress. She struck a pose with pride, tilting her head as if looking down on me, then scanned my dress from head to toe. Is that a handmade dress? It looks more like a frock than a wedding gown, not the fluffy kind one expects for a wedding. Yes, it's a custom design from my favorite designer, embroidered with my favorite flowers. I explained proudly. Brittany only smiled thinly. Well, good for you. Embroidery can be a bit old-fashioned, but it suits you, Natalie. It's nice, right? I forced a smile. Hey, it's time, John interrupted abruptly as he entered the dressing room. He didn't even compliment me on how I looked. I sighed deeply. The ceremony proceeded smoothly, and the reception began. Now, a few words from the family, Brittany announced, rising to the microphone. Instantly, the men in the room began murmuring admiringly, beautiful, gorgeous. I wish I could marry someone like her. Their gazes lingered on her beauty and figure, beyond her dress. Hello everyone. I'm Brittany, the sister. Brittany began. Today, there are a few empty seats, but thank you all for coming. About 30% of the guests were absent from the reception, despite seats prepared for Brittany's friends. As you can see, my sister doesn't have many friends. Just about 8. She spends her holidays cooped up, eating sweets and tapping on her phone. Sad, isn't it? There was laughter from the audience. I felt the blood drain from my face. What was Brittany doing? This was supposed to be our wedding reception. But I love my sister just the way she is. John, please make her happy, Brittany concluded with an angelic smile, earning applause. I didn't want to contemplate who that applause was really for. After the reception, I confronted Brittany in the dressing room. What was that about, Brittany? Were those empty seats meant for your friends, making it look like it was my fault? Brittany just laughed and patted my head condescendingly. Don't be upset. If you worry about such things, life will be hard, you know? My friend said it was a lovely ceremony, too. John joined in casually. Why are you so worked up? They laughed at my distress, as if it were all a joke. I stood there, unable to comprehend their absurd behavior. Soon after, my in-laws arrived. They comforted me and reprimanded John and Brittany, apologizing for their son's behavior. It eased my mind a little, but doubts about them started to gnaw at me. 10 months later, John, my in-laws, and I drove to a certain place. John seemed excited in the driver's seat. I'm really looking forward to this. Aren't you, Natalie? I remained silent, staring down. We arrived at Brittany's house. John and my in-laws gathered eagerly around the living room sofa. She's so adorable. We're so glad she was born healthy. At the center of attention was Brittany, holding her baby. She rushed over to me, beaming with the baby in her arms. Look, Natalie, isn't she cute? She looks just like me. Brittany radiated happiness, but her eyes gleamed with a hint of satisfaction, almost enjoying my reaction. Her smile twisted into a smirk. Congratulations, I muttered, looking away. Wow, she's adorable. Can I hold her? I asked hesitantly. Of course, Brittany giggled, handing the baby to John, who held her with a gleam in his eyes. Babies are so precious. Look, Natalie, they're symbols of happiness, right? Yes, they are, John interjected abruptly, his tone pointed. Maybe you're just jealous of Brittany. That's why you can't get pregnant, he said, almost flaunting the baby in front of me. His words stung. In that moment, something snapped inside me. What? Aren't I right here? John's mouth fell open in surprise. My in-laws stared at the baby in John's arms, their expressions frozen in shock. I know everything about John and Brittany's affair, I declared loudly, cutting through the stunned silence. John's face strained of color, and Brittany's expression twisted in disbelief. I pulled out photos from my bag and scattered them on the floor. Images of John and Brittany entering a hotel together. Brittany burst into laughter. Stop it, this is some kind of trick, right? Don't be foolish, Brittany. The fool here is you, I retorted. I suspected something, so I installed cameras in the house. On a day I was away, I pulled out my phone and played a video showing John and Brittany's affair in the living room. Brittany's face flushed red with anger. What is this? Stop it right now, she yelled. Lunging at me, she snatched my phone and threw it against the wall, stomping on it until it broke. The room fell silent as I watched her coldly. It's futile, Brittany, I said calmly, causing her to halt and look up sharply. Futile? What do you mean? She snapped. Then a thunderous voice filled the room. John. My father-in-law grabbed John by the collar. Did you betray Natalie with her own sister, you monster? And now you have a child? How will you take responsibility for this, you idiot? Tears streamed down my mother-in-law's face as she struggled to comprehend the betrayal. John trembled under their accusations. Wait, it's not proven that the child is mine and Brittany's. Natalie is just trying to frame me. A DNA test, huh? John exclaimed, trying to deflect blame. Let's go to the hospital for a DNA test to prove it. I stood firm. A DNA test will reveal the truth about whose child it is. John stomped his foot, still trying to justify himself. Look, Natalie can't even conceive. A woman who can't bear children isn't fit to be a wife, right? Are you out of your mind? A cheater like you isn't fit to be a husband, my father-in-law thundered. John avoided everyone's eyes, his excuses crumbling. Say something, Brittany. Why did you do this? Betraying your own family is unforgivable, my mother-in-law pleaded, her voice trembling. Brittany shuddered, then snapped. It's not my fault. It's Natalie's fault. She glared at me with venom. It's all because you stole my first love. I was stunned. What? I have no recollection of that. Ever since our parents left, I've always acted tough. But you were always weak and annoying, Brittany continued, her voice filled with bitterness. The guy I loved first rejected me for you. I pitied you, Natalie. That's why I couldn't leave you alone. I felt a wave of disbelief and anger. So you wanted me to suffer? Is that why you did all this? Made me feel lonely and inferior? I wanted you to realize your place, Brittany sneered, to know that you're beneath me. Betrayed by your husband, hated by your sister, you're the most pitiful woman in the world. Brittany laughed triumphantly, but all I felt was a deep sense of emptiness. So, I'm pitiful. I see, that's what you think, Brittany, I said calmly, fully understanding her intentions. She looked stunned, expecting a different reaction. But none of that matters to me anymore. Now, I just despise you. I once loved you so deeply, and you manipulated me all along. It's despicable. So, I've decided to repay the favor. Everything you've done to me. I mocked her laugh, and Brittany recoiled as if I were a monster. Was my face that terrifying? Stay tuned, both of you, I added before leaving the house alone. Months passed since then. John handed me divorce papers and left, likely to my sister Brittany's place. Today, I find myself at a wedding in a grand New York church, wearing a thick, long cardigan over my dress, ensuring it's completely concealed. The venue is packed with over 100 guests. I can barely see the bride and groom. They probably can't see me either. As the couple enters, applause erupts. The minister begins. Do you, John, take Brittany to be your wife through good and bad, rich and poor, sickness and health? It's my sister Brittany and John's wedding. I learned about their wedding the month after the chaos unfolded. Brittany had announced her shotgun wedding with Jillian on social media, detailing the plans. They must have been preparing for a while, perhaps even before my own wedding. That explains why Brittany didn't invite her friends to my wedding. She said she'd create a group chat and confirm attendees herself to ease my burden during the busy wedding preparations. I thought at the time. Now, I realize she never created that group chat. She lied about everyone attending. No one was invited to mine, so no one came. Looking back, it seems John only invited casual acquaintances. I never met his close friends before or after our marriage. Whether John was already involved with Brittany before marrying me, or it was unfortunate timing, I'll never know. But one thing is clear, they want this to be their only wedding. They want to erase all memory of their time with me, and I can't forgive that. All the time I loved John, all that effort I put into our relationship, for them to destroy my life for their own happiness is unforgivable. I reaffirmed my determination for revenge. After the ceremony, the reception began, a staging party due to the bustling crowd. I remained hidden in a corner. Here's a special video message from the groom's parents who couldn't be here today, the staff announced proudly. John and Brittany's eyes widened in surprise as the screen lit up with John's parents smiling, though their gaze was sharp. It's finally beginning, I thought, watching the screen with a subtle smirk. John, Brittany, congratulations on your wedding. Congratulations, the couple in the video smiled at each other. Thank you all for coming today. As a token of our appreciation, we'd like to offer you a gift. Murmurs of excitement rose from the crowd. What's going on? John's mother interjected, her voice cutting through the tension. This is not just a gift, it's a message. Go ahead. Allow me. John's father's previously relaxed demeanor turned stern. There stands the bride. But she's not just any bride. She's John's mistress, and not just any mistress, but his own wife's sister. Do you understand what we're saying? These two are not just newlyweds. They're immoral cheaters. We cannot accept this marriage, and we're cutting ties with them. Stop the video. John screamed as the footage abruptly halted, but the damage was done. The guests were stunned by the revelation. John stood up, trying to laugh it off. Everyone, that was just a joke by my parents. A bit too much, right? The guests murmured in confusion, some echoing his attempt to dismiss the seriousness of the situation. Brittany grabbed the microphone, attempting to explain, but I seized it from her. It's true, I declared with a single word, then shed the cardigan I wore, revealing the white dress I had worn a year ago when I married John. Remember this, John? John's face drained of color as he stared at me, frozen in place. Taking advantage of the moment, I retrieved something from an envelope and scattered its contents across the venue, photos documenting John and Brittany's affair. These photos mark the end of my marriage with John, I announced, scanning the chaotic scene. I did it. I finally did it. Afterward, everything blurred, and I collapsed in a daze. Suddenly, someone grabbed me roughly by the collar. Looking up, I met Brittany's shocked gaze. Why are you here? I didn't invite you. I never told you the time or place. I couldn't help but laugh at her panic. What are you talking about, Brittany? You announced it all on social media, didn't you? Your wedding details, the venue, you practically handed me the invitation. Your posts became my clues. I found everything online. Social media is quite something, isn't it? Why did they let you in then? Your name wasn't on the guest list. Brittany demanded, her voice trembling. Because I'm your sister. One of your friends recognized me at the reception and let me in. They wouldn't turn away the bride's own sister, would they? You orchestrated the video too. You brought those photos as a surprise, keeping it all a secret from me. I didn't invite John's parents. They came to my house, apologized, and said they couldn't accept your marriage. We planned this together. I pointed around at the emptying venue with a bitter laugh. Look, everyone's leaving. As Brittany watched her friends depart, her face paled. Wait, come back, she called out weakly, but they turned away collectively. Those photos might be fake, but we don't want to be associated with someone who could have cheated, one of them explained coldly. Friends, huh? Funny how our friendship revolved around branded gifts. We were friends because of what you could provide for us, for the photos to flaunt to others. That's right, I said, hitting the nail on the head. Brittany clenched her jaw in frustration. Goodbye, Brittany. With that, I left her sitting alone on the floor, John holding his head in disbelief, and myself oddly composed. A few days after Brittany's wedding, I was at home trying to relax, knowing this peace was fleeting. The doorbell rang. I checked the peephole and opened the door. Before I could react, John lunged at me, his anger palpable. I hit the wall and slid to the floor, but I remained composed. You two never learned, but I'm glad you came, I said icily. Brittany crossed her arms and looked down at me defiantly. John, check your email. There's something important there, I stated calmly. Just before they arrived, I had sent an email with attachments, photos, and videos. You're at it again. John reluctantly checked his phone, his expression growing more furious. He turned to Brittany, thrusting the phone towards her. Brittany, who's this older man? The photos showed Brittany in revealing attire, holding hands with several older men. The video captured her entering and leaving hotels with them, exchanging money. Is this sugar dating, Brittany? I stated matter-of-factly. Brittany seethed. I turned to Jan, who was hanging his head. Hey John, did you ever do a paternity test? Remember I mentioned a DNA test would prove if the child is really yours and Brittany's. No need for that. John gasped, the weight of the situation hitting him. John, I said firmly. Whose child is it? In that moment, John gripped Brittany's hand tightly, staring at her intently. Brittany, did you betray me? After everything, even the child? What are you talking about? The child is yours. How can you doubt me? I can't trust a woman who secretly engages in sugar dating, John retorted sharply. Fine, if you trust Natalie more than me, then agree to a DNA test. We'll go to the hospital tomorrow, Brittany insisted, clinging to John's hand, hoping for his belief. John hesitated, frustration evident. Well, Brittany, he faltered, shaking his head. Her reaction spoke volumes. John stormed out angrily, venting his frustration on furniture and appliances. Brittany, left behind by John's outbursts, sank to the floor, defeated. Brittany, I looked down at her, a taunting edge in my voice. How does it feel now? Brittany twitched at my words. When the test comes out, John will leave you, and now you have no friends left. She glared back at me defiantly. I have friends. Not everyone have abandoned me. So where are those messages then? I pressed. Brittany hesitated, clearly caught off guard. Right after the wedding, did anyone check in on you, show concern, offer support? Brittany avoided my gaze. I received messages after you discredited me in your speech and after my divorce from John, I continued. Sure, I may only have 8 friends, but each one of them reached out. Brittany, you have so many more friends than me, yet none of them were there for you when it mattered. I could hear Brittany grinding her teeth in frustration. John has left you, and now you're left with no friends, Brittany. That's the truth, I said firmly. Me, pitiful. You're delusional. I'm beautiful, I have a great figure, and men shower me with gifts because I deserve it. Brittany shot back angrily. You're the one who's pitiful, with nothing to show for yourself. I remained stoic in the face of her outburst. Sure, keep telling yourself that, Brittany, I replied calmly, but let me make one thing clear. You're not better than me, not then, not now, not ever. What? That's absurd. You used to envy me, thought I had it all. Brittany retorted. I said those things to appease you because we're family, I explained evenly. I didn't want to show indifference when you were proud. It was flattery, Brittany. You took it too seriously. What? But I loved you. We were family, and I didn't want to lose you, so I was kind, Brittany shouted, her voice trembling. Don't lie to yourself. Your jealousy over my ability to have children drove you to betray me, I replied with a sigh. I'm done letting that define me. With John, I thought having children was everything, but life is more than that. People live in different ways, and I'm choosing to move forward without that burden. Brittany began to tremble violently. I helped her out of the house as she couldn't move on her own. Goodbye, Brittany. I closed the door with a resolute thud. After that day, Brittany and John divorced. The DNA test revealed the child wasn't John's, and news of their affair spread like wildfire, tarnishing their reputations among the 100 guests at their ill-fated wedding. Both lost their jobs and struggled to find new ones, now barely making ends meet with odd jobs. Meanwhile, I moved away, eager to start afresh in a place free from Brittany and John's toxic influence. I was determined to leave the past behind and rebuild my life. I'm visiting a friend today. She just had a baby, I explained, ringing the doorbell with a gift in hand. My friend greeted me at the door, her face glowing with joy. Thank you so much. Come on in, she exclaimed, genuinely grateful for the gift. Do you keep livestock in this house? Are you seriously trying to feed Tommy this junk? I can't believe it. My mother-in-law said this and tossed my dish into the trash. What? Your family isn't my family. My only family has always been my mom. You know, how long are you going to keep saying stupid things? Just so you know, there's a huge difference in value between my mom and your family. Anyone can see that, right? Although I was furious just moments ago, I had now completely calmed down. I truly despised Tommy, who was laughing loudly after disrespecting my family. Mom's moving in next month. Clear out your room. Seeing me not respond, Tommy emphasized with a raised voice, Hey, are you hearing me? Mom's going to move in next month. I'll be on a business trip till then. In the meantime, make sure to clean up all your stuff, okay? Got it. Tommy glared at me with stern words, but I just smiled sweetly and replied, Sure thing, I'll tidy it up. Then I returned to my bedroom. I once thought Tommy was a wonderful person who cherished his family, but in reality, he's just a pitiful man controlled by his mother, unable to have his own opinion as an adult. I was never family to him. I wouldn't mind whatever he said about me, But he also spoke cruelly about my precious family, unforgivable. Just as he wanted, I'll clean everything up nicely. He can look forward to it. I wish he and his beloved mother would just go to hell together. I'm Emily Smith, a 35-year-old housewife. I married Tommy last year, and it's been exactly a year now. I met Tommy at a gathering hosted by one of my friends. It was an event exclusively for men and women over 30, like a mixer for adults. Tommy was there because a mutual acquaintance had invited him. He was slender and tall, standing out among the male participants. Right at the start of the event, there was a slight buzz among the women because of him. However, when he introduced himself in a mumbled and soft voice, the interest from the ladies quickly faded. Tommy gave off a somewhat introverted vibe, which didn't seem to appeal much to the women. But I was sitting close by and didn't miss a word of Tommy's introduction. The most important thing to me is family. Tommy had indeed said that, and his words resonated with me. I found an opportunity to strike up a conversation with him. I feel the same way. Family is the most important thing to me too. I felt that behind his glasses, Tommy's eyes lit up. After that event, through my friend who organized it, I got a call from Tommy. After several dates and finding that we got along really well, we started seeing each other. At the social gathering, Tommy seemed reserved, but usually he's quite talkative. Most of the stories that came from Tommy were about his family, mainly his mother. I truly admire my mom. She gave birth to me and raised me. I'm just so grateful. She means the world to me. Hearing him speak so fondly of his family made me cherish Tommy even more. Just like Tommy, my family is the most important thing to me, irreplaceable. I have a father, a mother, and a younger brother who's in college. Back in the day, my dad's business had some rough times, and we faced financial hardships. But no matter what, we all stuck together with smiles on our faces. With experiences like that, I'm convinced that we share a strong bond as a family. Right now, my family, except for me, is overseas because of my father's job. I stayed in the US because of my own job. If I hadn't married, I might have eventually moved abroad too. But then I met Tommy, feeling that Tommy, who cherishes his family just like I do, might be someone I can build a life with. My mom told me that she thinks you, Emily, and I could have a happy life together, so let's get married. And so, a year ago, Tommy and I tied the knot. 1 year into our marriage, I've learned a few things about Tommy that I hadn't known before. First, Tommy's personality. Hey, Emily, I can't find my favorite shirt in the closet. You need to be on top of things. The Tommy I first met, who spoke softly and seemed so shy, turned out to be quite self-centered. Moreover, the sweet way he used to call me Emmy changed to Emily the day after we got married. At first, it caught me off guard, but I thought it was just because we became closer. However, I wish you wouldn't yell over trivial matters. If you're talking about that shirt, you told me to send it for dry cleaning yesterday, and I did. It'll be ready tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Tommy visibly frowned. If I told you yesterday, you should have sent it out then. I could have worn it today. Think before you act. My response was met with a dismissive comment. Mom would never make a mistake like that. With that, Tommy stormed out. He had instructed me the previous night to take it to the cleaners, so logically, I had done it today. Arguing with Tommy often feels futile, as he never seems to grasp my perspective and inevitably invokes Mom into every disagreement. One thing I've learned since marrying Tommy is that he truly values family above all else. I also hold my family in high regard. That shared value was a significant reason why Tommy and I decided to marry. But it seems his perspective on family may be somewhat skewed. Tommy's relationship with his mother, my mother-in-law, is intense, and he's always been exceptionally attached to her. I've met her a few times, especially during our wedding preparations. She seemed particularly interested in my salary and my family's financial situation, mostly monetary topics. Thankfully, I had been with the same company for years and my savings and income were decent. I suspect that might have been a key factor in their approval of our marriage, but I understand a parent's concern for their child's well-being, so I didn't dwell on it. When we decided to marry, I already had a spacious home where I lived with my family, so Tommy moved in with me to start our new life together. As we discussed room allocations, Tommy chuckled and said, "You know, I don't plan on having kids, so let's have separate bedrooms." My mom always said that kids are loud and take a lot of work. She didn't want to burden me with that. Isn't she sweet? By the way, she mentioned it would be great if the kids took after me, but hell if they look like Emily. Tommy's reliance on his mother's opinions about children left me feeling unsettled. At that time, I believed Tommy would eventually want kids, so I went along with it. However, a turnoff happened later. One day, my mother-in-law announced she'd spend the night at our place. She'd been over several times, but she always left before nighttime. This would be her first sleepover. Tommy was thrilled about hosting her, and I hurriedly prepared the guest room. Tommy chimed in, "Mom's going to sleep in my room, so it's all good." I wasn't sure what he meant, but when I tried moving the guest bedding to Tommy's room, he refused. I couldn't believe it, but when I went to wake them up the next day, they were both sleeping in the same bed. It's great they're close, but isn't sharing a bed a bit much? I felt like I'd seen something I shouldn't have and quietly left Tommy's room. After that, I knew I'd never share a bedroom with Tommy again. Another post-marriage revelation was Tommy's attitude toward money. Maybe it's how his mother raised him, but Tommy believed in spending all he earned on himself and never contributing to the household. I've asked Tommy several times to help with expenses, but he'd say, "My mom always told me my money is mine. Besides, your earnings are mine as your husband. It's natural, right? So, shouldn't you help with living expenses?" And that was that. Tommy never contributed financially and bought expensive bicycles as a hobby. Without my consent, he built a shed for them in our backyard. Every day, seeing that shed, I couldn't help but feel a certain way. "You're over so often. Is your husband okay with that?" One day, I finally asked my mother-in-law about her frequent visits. "He's working out of state on his own. As long as he sends money every month, he doesn't care." I felt sorry for my father-in-law, knowing he was away from home for work. While Tommy always claimed family was important, it seemed his primary concern was his mother. One day, Tommy enjoyed another meal prepared by my mother-in-law, who had come over again. Despite my efforts to prepare a meal as well, she discarded everything. "Do you have livestock in this house?" she remarked. "Is this animal feed? You weren't really planning to serve this mediocre dish to Tommy, were you?" I can't believe it. With that, she dumped it, plate and all, into the trash. I stood there in shock as my mother-in-law took over the cooking, silently observing as she used the same knife for both meat and fruit. It sent chills down my spine. "What are you staring at? So creepy. I didn't make anything for you, so figure something out for yourself." Her dismissal was expected. Part of me felt relieved. Watching Tommy eat a meal carelessly prepared by my mother-in-law filled me with concern about our future. Her visits became a pattern, bullying me and lavishing excessive affection on Tommy. Ever since I discovered them sleeping in the same bed, I found reasons to decline my mother-in-law's stayovers. I simply couldn't bear it and refused to accept it. Perhaps that's why her visits became more frequent. Almost every day after work, I'd find my mother-in-law already settled in the living room. It became a common occurrence, sometimes with Tommy unexpectedly at home during what I assumed were his working hours. "Why are you home early?" I asked Tommy one day. "I took the day off because Mom's coming over," he replied casually. I felt deeply disappointed and disheartened. If he was using his vacation days like this just for his mother's frequent visits, what would he do in the future? After my mother-in-law left, I gathered my courage and asked Tommy, "Can I ask you something?" Tommy looked momentarily surprised but quickly responded, "Mom thought maybe I should get married at least once. That's why I went to that party. We got along well, and she thought you were well off, so she said, why not?" Learning that he approached our marriage with the same casualness as picking out a watermelon at the supermarket with his mom made me want to sigh deeply. I had married Tommy because he was kind, gentlemanly, and valued family deeply. Before we married, I had felt love for him. But Tommy seemed to have no affection for me at all. For him, his mother was everything, and her word was law. For the first time, I seriously considered the idea of divorce, which I had avoided until then. Could I continue like this with Tommy? Lost in thought, I let out a heavy sigh. One day, when I came home from work, something in the living room felt off. It seemed emptier somehow. Then I realized what was missing. This home originally belonged to my family, so it held many items from them. But now they were gone. A small bookshelf my brother made for me in school, a framed painting by my mother, souvenirs from overseas that my father had given me. They were all missing. Even my gold ring and pendant, gifts from my mother when I got married, were gone. I had kept them carefully in a case in our bedroom, but they were nowhere to be found. Many other cherished items from my family were also missing. I searched frantically throughout the entire house, my bedroom, Tommy's bedroom, even the shed in the backyard that Tommy used, but they were nowhere to be found. I stood in the living room, stunned. Tommy, who had just returned, noticed my disheveled appearance and laughed. "What's up? Why is your hair all messed up?" he asked casually, oblivious to my distress. For confirmation, I asked Tommy, "Something I got from my family is missing. Do you know anything about it?" Tommy's response shocked me. "Huh, that junk? I threw it out. It was always in the way. It's bulk trash day today, so I dumped it." I stared at Tommy in disbelief. He had discarded my cherished possession, a gift from my family. "You threw out the ring and pendant too?" I asked, my voice trembling. Tommy looked guilty as he replied, "I might have. They were just old junk." My anger flared. "Why would you do that? Those were precious to me, gifts from my family." Tommy hesitated, then retorted defensively, "Your stuff is my stuff, right? That's what my mother said. What's the big deal if I got rid of my own stuff? And why are you so obsessed with your family? We're married now. Move on. It's embarrassing." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Wasn't Tommy the one obsessed with his own family? Did he really think of my family as trashy? His words were so hurtful and absurd that I couldn't think straight. Calling my family trashy? They're your family too. How could you say something so cruel? I shot back, feeling a surge of annoyance. Tommy frowned, annoyed. "Your family isn't my family. The only family I care about is my mom. Your parents only managed to produce someone like you. They're trash. But my mom gave birth to me. Can't you see the difference? Maybe it's too hard for someone like you to understand." Any remaining anger turned into cold clarity. I realized I genuinely despised Tommy, who was mocking my family with a smug grin. His next words only deepened my disillusionment. "My mom really likes this house, so I've decided she should live here too." I remained silent, stunned. Tommy's tone grew sharper. "What? Have a problem with that? This may have been your house originally, but it's mine now too. If you don't like it, we can just get divorced." With that, Tommy shoved divorce papers in my face. He had already arranged everything with a lawyer. It was clear this was his mother's doing. Did he expect this to break my spirit? I couldn't even muster a sigh anymore. "Mom's moving in next month. Clean out your room," Tommy demanded, his voice loud and forceful. When I didn't respond, he raised his voice further. "Hey, are you listening? Mom's moving in next month. I'll be away on business till then. Make sure to clean up all your stuff, got it?" Inwardly, I sighed at his aggression. It was hard to believe this was the same man who had introduced himself so softly when we first met. Facing Tommy's glare, I simply smiled and replied, "Sure thing, I'll tidy up." Then I calmly returned to my bedroom. Once I returned, I wasted no time packing. Despite my anger towards Tommy, receiving those divorce papers felt like a small victory. I paused packing to make a phone call. After a couple of conversations, my spirits began to lift. I used to think he was a wonderful man who valued family, but in reality, he's just a mama's boy who idolizes his mother excessively. It's natural to care for one's mother, but Tommy takes it to an extreme. Being so controlled by his mother and unable to form his own opinions as an adult, I almost pity him. I tried to embrace his mother too, but it was impossible. "I'm sorry, but I can't fit into his world with her, and I don't want to." To him, I was never truly family. If it were just about me, I could ignore his words, but he also said cruel things about my precious family. That's unforgivable. Just as he wished, I'll clean everything up neatly for him. He can look forward to it. I hope he and his beloved mother go to hell together. The next morning, my phone kept ringing non-stop. It was Tommy calling. I assumed his business trip was over, but calling early on a weekend morning. Give me a break. I answered the phone. Before I could say anything, Tommy's enraged voice burst through the line. "Emily, what the hell did you do? The house is gone. What's going on?" Tommy sounded genuinely panicked. "What's the matter? Didn't you tell me to clean up all my stuff?" "So I did." Tommy was speechless at my response. "Yes, I did," I continued calmly, "just as you instructed. I cleared out all my belongings after my family moved abroad. The house was in my name. My father had given me the option to tear it down or sell it. I decided to keep it for a while longer, but when Tommy told me to clean up, I consulted my father. After explaining everything to him, he suggested selling the house. That's when I took action. I contacted a realtor immediately, sold the house, and it was demolished soon after. Now it's just an empty lot. Are you out of your mind? Where's the furniture? Where are my things? Tommy's voice sounded much weaker now. What happened to your earlier bravado? Most of the things, including the house, furniture, and belongings, have been with me since before we married. So I packed everything up and asked for your things. They're all neatly stored in that shed of yours that you're so proud of. When I sold the property, I left only a small corner of the yard, about the size of a small closet. That's where Tommy's shed, the only thing he ever paid for, stands. Inside the shed are those fancy bikes and a few other items, I added, sensing Tommy's shock through the phone. Suddenly, my mother-in-law's voice interrupted. Emily, what's going on here? Where's Tommy's house? I've just brought moving boxes in my truck. What's the meaning of this? Say something. After all the selfish decisions she's made over the years, you'd think she could handle this herself. I thought to myself, listening to her angry tirade. You're Tommy's wife, aren't you? What's with that attitude? And his mother, you're just a wife. Know your place. A wife should quietly listen to her husband and mother-in-law, she continued. Such unreasonable accusations. What does she think being a wife means? I'm truly relieved I took action before she could rob me of my dignity. With all due respect, I'm no longer your daughter-in-law, I responded calmly. I informed her that Tommy had initiated divorce proceedings and that I had recorded everything he said during that time. Given his escalating verbal abuse since our marriage, I had started using a voice recorder. The divorce papers were already with a lawyer, so I had contacted them. We are now legally separated. There was a brief silence on the other end. Then my mother-in-law's voice erupted again. If that's the case, send me the money from the property division. The house, the furniture, it's all marital property, isn't it? You have to split it with Tommy. Send me the money. I took a deep breath and calmly explained, the house and all the household items have been mine since before we married. Tommy is well aware of that. Besides, since our marriage, he hasn't contributed financially to the house, so we don't have any joint assets. That shed over there was built with Tommy's own money. Technically, it should be considered in the property division, but I don't have any need for it. From the other end of the phone, I could hear my mother-in-law's voice demanding, is that all? Yes, that's all there is. In our year of marriage, that's the only thing we've retained, and it was purely for Tommy's personal satisfaction, something I don't need. Misunderstandings have been so frequent that it's almost laughable. Now, what was the point of this marriage? She should consider herself lucky that the shed is still standing. By the way, the land where the house once stood has already been sold to a realtor. If you don't vacate soon, it could become a legal issue. As for the shed's location, it's fine for now, but please remove it promptly, or I'll have to take legal action. The mention of court seemed to agitate her. I could almost hear her grinding her teeth in frustration. By the way, where is Tommy? I haven't heard his voice in a while. Tommy, stop crying and compose yourself. Everything will be fine if you just do as Mom says, all right? It seemed Tommy was sobbing. Such childish behavior. His boyish charm was endearing once, but now he just seemed like a pitiful mama's boy. Yeah, you're right, if I just listen to Mom and stay with that woman. Tommy's words were abruptly cut off, likely by his mother muffling him. She must have something she doesn't want me to hear. But it's too late. I've covered all my bases and have solid evidence, so I'm not worried. By the way, where are you both? Tell me, and I'll come over. I declined her request. Finding temporary accommodation was inconvenient for me. We're strangers now, and I doubt we'll ever meet again. Expect to hear from my lawyer soon. Please handle it when that happens. I had a few photographs in my hand. They showed Tommy, his mother-in-law, and an unfamiliar woman. They were taken during the time Tommy claimed he was on a business trip. A friend who hosted parties where Tommy and I first met mentioned seeing them together while on vacation. The photos captured moments of Tommy and the woman entering a room together and leaving in the morning. Why? How did you find out? Tommy's voice came through faintly, almost like the buzz of a mosquito. It surprised me that he had the energy to speak. Apparently, a friend who continued hosting parties informed me of Tommy's recent activities. Despite our marriage, Tommy returned to attending these parties where he met this woman. Tommy hit it off with her, and they went home together. It turns out, the woman seen with him on vacation was indeed the same lady. But Mom said every man should have at least one affair. She thinks this lady is more beautiful, so why not have a child with her? Tommy's outraged statement caught me off guard, but I sighed, realizing it must be his mother's influence again. Regardless of her influence, cheating is cheating, and I won't let this slide. I don't care about excuses. Be prepared for the divorce process, Tommy. I already know the other woman's identity through my friend, so she should be ready too. I don't have your current address, so I assume the notice will be sent to your workplace, Tommy, I continued, hearing his sobs on the other end. His mother's voice chimed in, consoling him, which made me feel nauseous, but I had to continue. By the way, expect a visit from the police for a chat, so please cooperate, all right? There was no response from his mother. She probably understands the gravity of her actions. Did you steal my precious ring and pendant? I have photos from that affair trip showing you wearing my ring and pendant. I will never forgive this. And just so you know, I've already informed your husband. He was furious. He even mentioned divorce, so you'll get your wish, a dream life with just you and Tommy. As I was about to hang up the phone, I thought I heard an indescribable scream from her on the other end. Looking outside the window, the sun was about to set. I wondered where those two would spend the night. Well, with that old shed they have, they'll probably be sheltered from the rain and wind for a bit. That's the least bit of compassion I could show them. Honestly, I don't care. Tonight, I'm going to sleep soundly. Firstly, I received a message with an apology from Tommy's mistress. She seemed to be involved in the nightlife industry, and there was even an apologetic note saying it was just a momentary lapse of judgment. On the other hand, after a formal notice arrived at Tommy's workplace revealing his affair, it became uncomfortable for him, and it seems he eventually resigned on his own accord. His father fronted the compensation money, but he made it clear he's going to be relentless in collecting it from Tommy. Tommy's mother was hit with divorce papers from him. It seems there have been issues in the past with her being overly protective of Tommy. His father mentioned that he had run out of patience after this incident. From now on, not only will no money come her way, but she's also facing inquiries from the police on suspicion of theft. Although she had been repeatedly claiming family theft because there was no recognized fact of cohabitation between her and me, she ended up with a criminal record. Now Tommy and his mother are renting a small apartment and seem to be getting by with part-time jobs. That old shed has been removed, and I've heard a new house is going to be built on the empty lot where my house once stood. I hope from the bottom of my heart that the people who live in that house will be a warm family. Rolling my suitcase behind me, I walked through the airport concourse, eager to reunite with my beloved family. My heart naturally lifted with joy. I'm heading to the country where my family lives to start a new chapter in my life. I hurriedly made my way to the boarding gate. As soon as the student walked into the restaurant, he made a beeline for the counter seats. I politely reminded him to use the hand sanitizer stationed at the entrance. He brushed me off and sat down without complying. Politely but firmly, I asked him once more to sanitize his hands. His response was sharp and disrespectful. Just wash them, okay. The room fell silent as other customers glanced over in surprise. Later, I noticed a social media post criticizing our insistence on hand sanitizer, calling it annoying. Comments followed, echoing similar frustrations. Then came a video allegedly filmed inside our restaurant, showing the cockroach on our counter and insinuating it ended up in the food. The title was Delicious Cockroach Ramen, a cruel fabrication that deeply upset us. Filled with frustration and a sense of injustice, I vowed to uncover the truth. It was unfair to let someone tarnish a place that meant so much to me. My name is Rachel Connor, 41 years old. I live with my husband Bob, our daughter Catherine in 2nd grade, and my mother-in-law. Bob and I met in high school, bonding over meals at his family's Chinese restaurant, where he proudly worked alongside his father, the chef. The food was always exceptional, and our connection grew stronger with each delicious meal. Cooking and baking were passions I shared with my mom, and those shared moments shaped many conversations Bob and I had about food. Although we lost touch during our senior year in different classes, fate brought us back together at culinary school after graduation. Our bond deepened as we spent more time together, eventually leading to us becoming a couple. Post-graduation, I found my place in a French restaurant kitchen while Bob honed his skills in a hotel restaurant. Marriage followed, and when our daughter Catherine was born, I chose to prioritize raising her. Just before Catherine was set to start kindergarten, tragedy struck with the sudden passing of Bob's father. Determined to honor his legacy and keep the restaurant thriving, Bob stepped into his father's shoes. My love for the restaurant's cuisine and our shared dreams led us to run it together. One memorable day, a young man named Josh came in for a part-time job interview. A university student in his second year, he expressed a deep love for our food and eagerness to work with us. Financial constraints initially led us to decline, but Josh's persistence, driven by his passion and need, touched me deeply. Understanding his situation, a single-parent household with a mother who struggled with mobility, I couldn't turn him away. It turned out Josh would order an extra meal daily for his mom, who adored our Chinese dishes but couldn't visit herself. Touched by his dedication, Bob started providing Josh with double portions free of charge, ensuring both Josh and his mom enjoyed our food without worry. Then, one ordinary lunchtime, a college student with blonde hair walked in. Ignoring my reminder to use the hand sanitizer, he brashly claimed he had just washed his hands. The outburst shocked me, leaving the restaurant silent with other customers watching on in surprise. It was a moment of confrontation I had never experienced before, leaving me shaken and speechless. In that tense moment, my husband Bob's voice rang out from the kitchen addressing the blonde-haired college student. "Excuse me, sir. We require everyone to use hand sanitizer here, please." The student shot me a disdainful glance, clicked his tongue, then reluctantly used the hand sanitizer at the entrance before returning to his seat at the counter. I hesitated to take his order, still shaken, but Josh stepped in, reassuringly offering, "I'll handle this one." The student, engrossed in his smartphone, ordered ramen. As he finished his meal and paid, he cast us a smug and unsettling smile before departing. "Seems like we've been quieter lately. Could it be because of COVID? Bob mused aloud. It's true COVID has slowed things down, but we're the only Chinese spot in the neighborhood with loyal regulars, I replied. We've taken precautions, sanitizing rigorously and installing acrylic barriers. Maybe people are just staying in more because of the virus. Not much we can do about that, Bob sighed. Yeah, can't blame them for being cautious. Maybe we should consider delivery until things settle, I suggested, noticing even the candy store next door was struggling. Everyone's feeling the pinch. During those uncertain times, it seemed all businesses, especially in hospitality, were feeling the pandemic's impact. Weeks passed, and our customer numbers dwindled further, causing even Bob to worry. Then one day, Josh burst into the restaurant looking alarmed. "Boss, you need to see this. It's serious." Bob and I gathered around Josh as he showed us a video on his phone. Clear as day, our restaurant's counter was shown with a cockroach crawling, shockingly being placed into a bowl of ramen. The video was titled "Delicious Cockroach Ramen," prominently displaying our restaurant's logo. Though the person's face was blurred, the distinctive physique and unmistakable kitchen confirmed it was our establishment. The comments flooded in with harsh criticisms. Premium broth? More like a bug buffet instead of Chinese cuisine. Sanitation must be a joke here. Dirty restaurant alert. Amidst the vitriol, some dubbed it the tasty bug Chinese joint. It was clear someone had taken and doctored photos from inside, then posted this deceitful video. It was beyond forgiveness. All we wanted was to serve our patrons, so why such malicious sabotage? We refused to let this injustice stand. Josh simmered with rage. The next day, despite Bob and I still reeling from shock, we mustered the strength to open shop. We unlocked early, usually a time when a few regulars dropped by, but today not a soul arrived by noon. From inside, I glimpsed people strolling along the main street. Squinting, I noticed something peculiar. Passers-by glanced into our eatery, some smirking. Intrigued, I ventured outside for a closer look. Groups huddled nearby, phones raised for photos and whispers circulating. Concerned about another social media debacle, I swiftly checked popular platforms. Sure enough, photos of our restaurant surroundings and the nearby subway station circulated with captions like "Bug Chinese spot nearby." Ours was the lone Chinese eatery in the vicinity, unmistakably clear from the images. Reluctantly, I scrolled through comments. Isn't that the bug-infested place near the West Station exit? Ate there once, never again. I used to love their dishes, but this is disgusting. It was devastating. With such rumors circulating, it was no wonder patrons shied away. Crushed by the online onslaught, our family reluctantly decided to close our doors. A few days later, as I stepped outside early in the morning to take out the trash, I was met with a disheartening sight. Trash littered the front of our restaurant's entrance. Grabbing a broom, I hurried to clean up the mess. As I neared the entrance, my heart sank. Spray painted in bold red on the shutter was the damning phrase, "Bug-infested place." I stood frozen, the broom slipping from my grasp, staring blankly at those hurtful words. Eventually, I returned home crestfallen, only to find Bob, slumped over and visibly distressed. "What's happened, honey?" I asked, my voice laced with concern. Bob hesitated before revealing the latest blow. "One of our suppliers wants to sever ties with us," he explained. "There's a photo circulating online of their delivery box at our back entrance. They've been harassed and shamed for continuing to work with us, labeled as supplying that bug-ridden Chinese place. They had a long-standing connection with Dad, and I can't let them suffer because of us." "Bob, Rachel, it's all right," interjected my mother-in-law, her voice filled with resignation. "Thank you for keeping this place running. Maybe it's time we close up and find somewhere quiet to start anew." "Closing down? Is that really our only option?" I lamented, seeing the despair etched on both Bob's and his mother's faces. It felt like we were teetering on the edge of hopelessness. "I'll find work, Bob. Please keep the restaurant going. This was Dad's dream, his hard work. Please let's find a way," I pleaded, and together, late into the night, we hashed out our options. "We'll keep pushing through," Bob reassured me. Finding a new supplier, we resumed operations. Meanwhile, I secured a job at an office not far from the restaurant. Bob innovated with new menu items and personalized service for our loyal patrons. Unfortunately, under financial strain, we had to let go of our part-timer Josh, promising to bring him back once things stabilized. For weeks, Bob and my mother-in-law managed the restaurant while I worked outside. One evening, returning home, my mother-in-law beckoned me urgently to the living room. Her face serious, she began to speak. "It's about Catherine," she started solemnly, leading me to sit down. Catherine had been in tears in her room earlier. When questioned, she revealed she was being bullied at school. She recounted finding a plastic bag filled with dead roaches in her desk that morning. Shocked, she had thrown it on the floor, only for a classmate to cruelly remark, "Don't toss that around. Save it for your bug-infested restaurant." With a heavy heart, my mother-in-law showed me a note that read boldly, "I am a bug girl." She explained, Catherine brought this home stuck to her backpack, not noticing it until she reached her room. It devastated her. Since our restaurant became a target online, Catherine's classmates have begun teasing her with bug girl taunts, associating her with the false rumors of our bug-serving Chinese restaurant. Despite her protests that we didn't serve insects, they showed her misleading social media posts, undermining her credibility. The bullying persisted, and the note on her backpack was the breaking point for Catherine. She couldn't bear it any longer. I entered Catherine's room and held my sobbing daughter tightly. "Mom, I can't do this anymore. I just can't," she cried. "I know, honey, I know. I'm so sorry," I murmured, hugging her tightly as tears streamed down both our faces. Eventually, exhaustion overtook her, and she fell asleep in my arms. The following day, Catherine couldn't bring herself to face school and became truant. I visited the school and spoke with her teacher, explaining the bullying. He promised to address the issue and requested updates on Catherine's situation at home. As I left, passing Catherine's locker, I noticed the word bug scrawled above her name in marker. Pulling out a wet wipe from my purse, I scrubbed furiously, tears blurring my vision. Meanwhile, harassment at our restaurant persisted. Catherine remained secluded in her room, and my mother-in-law began frequent hospital visits, her health deteriorating. Bob coped by turning to nightly drinking, often passing out soon after. Our home was enveloped in a suffocating silence, each day heavier than the last. In the midst of these trials, my boss announced an all-staff training that I couldn't afford to skip. Unenthusiastically attending, I found myself pulled aside by an executive after dinner on the second night. Reluctantly entering his room, he offered a drink and mentioned our struggling restaurant. My heart sank realizing the news had spread here too. Mentally exhausted, I listened as he placed an envelope on the table, offering a new job opportunity with a $1,000 bonus each time I accepted similar tasks. The idea of financial relief tugged at my frayed emotions. $1,000 could really help, I thought, my resolve weakening. But then his casual mention of my child snapped me out of my stupor. The word child reminded me of the family I was failing, my husband Catherine and my struggling mother-in-law. With a sudden clarity, I pushed his hand away and fled from the room, grabbing my things and racing into the pouring rain outside, regret and shame mingling with each step. Why had I even entered that room? I knew the risks, yet the desperation for stability clouded my judgment. Was it greed? No, it was more about survival. But I had betrayed Josh's trust, and the realization hit me hard. Tears mixed with rain as I ran, seeking refuge from my own compromised integrity. My phone buzzed. It was Catherine. Mom, Grandma kicked me out of the house. What? She kicked you out? Where's Dad? I demanded. He's been asleep since yesterday. I've been trying to wake him up, but he won't respond. He's not responding. Stay right there. I'm coming home. I instructed Catherine to wait outside and sprinted towards the station. Frantically, I called home and Bob, but got no answer. Arriving back, I found Catherine sitting forlornly by her spray-painted, shuttered door. Mom, are you okay? Why did Grandma kick me out? She asked tearfully, showing me a child's cell phone. I don't know, honey. Let's get inside. I unlocked the door and rushed in. The house was eerily dark. Sending Catherine to her room, I flicked on the living room light. My heart sank as I found my mother-in-law sprawled next to the table. Rushing to her side, I called her name, but there was no response. A glass of water and an empty pill packet nearby confirmed my fears. She had overdosed. I dialed 911 immediately. Heading upstairs, I discovered Bob slumped over his desk. Shaking him awake, he mumbled, I was working on bills when Mom brought me coffee. After drinking it, I felt so drowsy. I explained the situation, and together we hurried downstairs, desperately trying to rouse her. On the table, I found a note, penned in shaky handwriting. Bob Rachel, I'm grateful for all you've done. I can't go on here. I haven't touched my husband's life insurance. Use it and my savings to start fresh. Be happy. Thank you for my heart. Oh my God. Moments later, the ambulance arrived. They confirmed she was in a coma and rushed her to the hospital. Leaving Catherine at home, we raced to the ICU. 3 agonizing days passed before she regained consciousness and was moved to a regular room. Sitting by her bedside, I choked out, Why did you try to leave us? We need you. Tears streamed down my face as Bob stood silently beside me and mother-in-law wept quietly. Together, we faced the despair of almost losing her. Later, my mother-in-law confessed that after drugging Bob with coffee, she sent Catherine away to spare her from witnessing her in that state. A few days after this revelation, as Bob and I contemplated closing our restaurant, Josh paid us an unexpected visit at home. It's been a while. I greeted him warmly. He shared that they had identified the culprit behind the malicious social media post. It was a senior from Josh's university, the same blonde student who had verbally abused us in the restaurant. So, he had a personal grudge against our place. But we're seriously considering closing down, Bob admitted, his gaze sweeping across our worn-out shop with a sigh. What? You can't close the shop, I protested weakly, attempting a smile despite the heavy atmosphere. We've tried our best, but with all the bad publicity, it's been tough. We're exhausted. I'm sorry. If we manage to turn things around, please do visit us again. Josh looked at me earnestly, saying, I owe you both a lot. I won't let your shop go under. I promise. With determination etched on his face, Josh abruptly stood up and left our home. A few days later, as Bob fetched the morning paper from the mailbox, he discovered several letters inside. Initially dismissing them as pranks, he paused when he noticed a postcard that read, I missed the ramen from your restaurant. Curiosity piqued, he read through each letter, finding words of encouragement and hope for our shop's revival. I joined him to read the discarded letters, all echoing similar sentiments. We were bewildered, wondering who could have sent them. The following day, Josh returned with a grin. That blonde guy is dropping out of school. Puzzled, we asked for clarification. Josh explained that the student's life had been turned upside down by his own social media post. While some initially agreed with the negative comments about our restaurant, others began to criticize and question its validity. Josh strategically amplified these dissenting voices, sparking a wave of support against the accuser. Soon, momentum built to identify the person responsible for the false accusations. A few of Josh's college friends joined forces and speculated that the culprit lived in a nearby neighborhood after sharing a picture of a restaurant. During their investigation, they heard about a blonde student who bragged to his friends, My social media post is blowing up. It went viral after I wrote about some restaurant. Josh recalled the student's dismissive attitude from his visit to our restaurant. Suspecting a link, he and his friends delved into the blonde student's social media accounts and struck gold. The student had posted, That Chinese place kept pushing hand sanitizer on me. Annoying? A friend replied, Yeah, the owner insisted once, and I just gave the waiter a glare. Convinced they had found their culprit, Josh thought, "We need to expose this guy's actions." Discussing their findings with a friend, they discovered this friend knew a popular YouTuber with 300,000 subscribers who covered current events. The YouTuber agreed to make a video exposing how a beloved local restaurant was unfairly targeted by this blonde student. With the YouTuber's influence, the story spread rapidly. The blonde student hastily deleted his social media accounts, but screenshots and posts had already gone viral. He found himself in a situation he couldn't escape. After Josh initially shared the information, an online user managed to identify the blonde student and shared it widely. Soon, numerous users had uncovered his age, college, home address, photos of him, and even the name of the company that had extended him a job offer. The online backlash was swift and severe. The backlash against the student escalated dramatically. Threatening letters arrived at his home, and provocative YouTubers uploaded videos accusing him of ruining the Chinese restaurant. They even confronted his parents about their parenting, repeatedly ambushing them at their house. Eventually, the police had to intervene. Every day, suspicious individuals resembling YouTubers lingered around the student's residence, filming his family members' activities, scrutinizing their mail, and posting detailed videos online. During one confrontation with a YouTuber, the blonde student lost his temper, but another YouTuber captured the altercation and uploaded it, leaving him unable to retaliate further. The emotional toll on the student's family became overwhelming, yet the online attacks showed no signs of abating. On the university's website, numerous complaints were posted, condemning his actions with comments like, "Is this the type of student your university produces? What does the dean have to say about this?" The university summoned the blonde student and his parents to address the situation, warning that any further online issues could become a nuisance for the institution and might require disciplinary actions. Moreover, news of the social media incident reached the company where the blonde student had received a job offer. The company was flooded with inquiries and concerns, questioning the suitability of hiring such an individual. Suggestions to reconsider the job offer circulated widely, leading to reports that the offer was withdrawn. Similar complaints surfaced on his father's company website, prompting the company to question him according to their policies and caution him against allowing personal matters to impact business operations. He also had an older sister who was 2 years his senior. An anonymous letter detailing her brother's misdeeds was sent to her fiancé's home, leading to the cancellation of their engagement. Following these events, the blonde student withdrew from university and took up part-time work. Tensions escalated within his family, marked by nightly arguments and the sound of breaking objects. Eventually, the blonde student seemed to vanish from their home, leaving his whereabouts unknown. Josh reflected on the profound dangers of the internet through this ordeal. Encouraged by widespread support, including heartfelt letters from Josh, we made the decision to reopen our restaurant. A boost came from a popular YouTuber who urged viewers in a video, "Please visit their restaurant," which attracted a new wave of younger customers. Regarding my daughter, her teacher reached out, informing us that the entire class wanted to apologize. When we visited the school, all the students expressed remorse, saying, "We're sorry for calling you Bug." They also inquired about the YouTuber, highlighting the immense influence of social media personalities today. I have since left my previous job while Josh has returned to part-time work. Even my mother-in-law occasionally helps out at the restaurant, as we are now bustling with customers. Our entire family is deeply thankful for the outpouring of support. Each day, I greet our patrons with a smile, hoping they savor every bite of my husband's culinary creations.